You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
It's Wednesday, my dude.
Oh, it is Wednesday, my dude.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. How about that? It's like the first time we actually done this.
How about that?
How about
Maybe.
how
about
about that?
How about that?
How
I'm
about
watching people enter the Facebook live stream,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think they're seeing who the guest is, and they're leaving right away. They're like, fuck this.
Yeah, I think it's very rude that the guest is sort of like trying to talk over us. It's
Oh, I know the
terrible.
The guest just left the room
The
to
polter-
do
the
a
poltergeist.
work call or something.
See,
oh, there he is. He's back.
doing it again.
I was actually driving over here and I got a notification on my phone, and because it's funny because Sam goes, "Oh, we got a special guest next week," and I'm like, "Oh, sweet." Sam spent some time with Tanner this week.
Yep.
Tanner Faust. I was like, "Okay, cool. We finally might have Tanner Faust," and it's not.
Well, I mean, it's a rock star driver.
Well, yep.
Drives a
He
yellow car.
drives a yellow car.
Yeah. He was at Gridlife.
He went to Gridlife.
Yeah. It was a debut of his.
He's a millionaire.
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
We know you got a bunch of secret Corey Gold.
I do. I have it. I have gold teeth.
He's got it in a little pouch hanging off his neck.
So this is a super special episode because even though we get to talk to Corey every goddamn week, sometimes I wish we didn't.
for 3
He
years.
is an actual drifter now. Yeah, and this is special for many reasons, mostly because it took him how long has it been since you last drifted on a track hard and fast?
Well, that's tough to say because I did drive Formula Drift Texas last year in Pro 2 in the 350Z, but I don't know. It's different now, I guess.
It's different now because that was a weird situation, and yeah, this is way different. This is special because you're an actual driver now, Corey, and also we get to talk about all of our stories. We interject with our usual guests, and we get to talk about a little bit of our background with their background. But I'm sure that there's a whole Corey cucumber that we're gonna crack open and suck out the seeds from.
Oh yeah. No, it's funny because like it is interesting because being on this end now, being a guest, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool because now we can really talk about stuff that.
Oh yeah.
We've had insides on. I think we should all each have one, and I'm really excited because obviously we've done a lot over the past, I'd say, 4 years, and that's kind of what's created this whole thing that we're doing now. And so if we can break that down and
Let's break it down, Corey. All right, let's talk about
Break it down.
Talk about when the day you were born, fresh out of mom's puss, you just pop
Jeez.
into the world.
Oh my god.
You
well, so you
come into the scene, and I think in one of our old videos in the past, when I interviewed you long ago, you said that you were drifting Toge. I think it was the Formula Drift Long Beach Drift Chronicles, the first episode of that I ever did. I was asking drivers about their first drift, and you told me about your first drift, and it was your mom and your dad were driving the mountain pass, and then you took a hard corner, and you flew out, grabbed the wheel, and you were drifting Toge.
I forgot about that story, but that was like
Well, your mom was going to the hospital for labor.
yeah, and then hit
labor at the
the
hospital.
Toge in a Ford Windstar, and I ended up just flying out.
Yeah.
That's actually a funny story. That's a true story. Me and Sam have had a discussion about that actually.
You made a funny
surprised-
noise. It was
I'm
more like a.
boing. I'm surprised you remember that. No, that's
I was
exactly
there.
how I was hatched.
So you come fresh out of mom's puss, and you.
You know what's funny though, Sam? I'm looking and my mom's actually watching right now.
Oh my god.
No. And come on, what's your background, dog? What's your family was kind of into racing, right?
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go back.
Wasn't your
let's
dad?
go back to California. And do you know what's funny? We can go way back, Sam, because you work with Jacob Agajanian, right?
I was gonna say, wasn't your dad Evil Knievel?
No, actually, Ascot Raceway was owned by the Agajanians, And my mom and dad were personal friends with the Agajanians. So my family's had a working relationship with them since 70s and 80s, when Ascot was around. That's how, we have that relationship with Jacob. And so my dad used to race flat track motorcycles, and my mom was actually somebody that helped operate and run the track at Ascot. And so they were, I guess, considered two lovebirds that met at a racetrack. Which Paco just almost threw up drinking whatever whiskey.
Jack, trusty.
Paco, you're hitting the liquor already. Damn, man.
Yeah, Paco's getting after it.
Dude, I've been flying so much. I've been drinking so much Jack Daniels on the planes that I think I just became how do you call it?
An alcoholic.
Addiction.
An alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's called being an alcoholic.
Yeah, look at this.
Full alcoholic.
Ching. Cheers.
All
All right, so back to Corey.
Yeah. So my dad, flat track motorcycles. Factory Honda, factory Harley Davidson.
What's flat track motorcycles?
The motorcycles that run in dirt ovals
And go sideways.
They're
Kind of like heavy, traditionally Harleys. They're not what you would think would be like lightweight racing motorcycles.
Oh, yeah. Especially like back on the 70s. Actually, one of the documentaries that I was kind of raised on was
Raisins?
Raisins.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was On Any Sunday. So if you guys are
Oh yeah, I know that movie.
yeah. So
Great
I
movie.
must have watched that a million times. That was literally so that era was the same era that my dad used to flat track. So all those guys like
Oh, that's
Malcolm Smith
fantastic.
and
I like Friday better.
On Any Friday. Yep.
I was raised on and actually starred in Karate Kid.
I thought you were more of a Blazing Saddles guy, Sam.
No, I'm Danielson.
Oh, Daniel's son.
Samuel-san.
Hi.
Yeah.
By the way, Sam was doing a very good Miyagi impersonation this weekend at Gridlife.
Oh, Danielson. Oh, very good.
Put on the girl's dress, Daniel-san.
Daniel, put on a wife dress. You're very pretty. Thank you. Danielson, anyone ever say it? You got a pretty eyes.
Daniel's son.
Yeah, that's
You sound like
Mr.
actually,
Miyagi,
you sound
just-
like Master Splinter from the Ninja Turtles the movie. Actually.
There you go.
Yep, that's funny you should say that because that was me too.
Wow.
Oh. See,
Yeah,
I have
got
you
a
pinned,
rich
Sam.
Film history.
I have you pinned. I know you all too well.
You pinned me down. I remember that night that you pinned me down in the hotel room.
Wow.
Yep.
You gave me butterfly kisses.
And
so I
Tickle
fell asleep.
tortured you.
Yep.
Yep. That was it.
All right, so circle track, flat track. You were the baby on the motorcycle. Is
Yeah.
that what you're gonna do?
Yep, that was it. I was the little. I was actually the ramp for the motorcycle. They put a piece of wood on me as a baby, and they would jump me.
That's sick.
And that's kind of how it started. No, so definitely come from a very family-oriented racing background through my whole family. My uncles, my dad, my brothers, my mom, obviously being involved with it, and so. Obviously, at a young age, I think I started racing go-karts at 5 or 6 years old. Obviously, doing a bunch of road racing stuff. But fun fact, what I really wanted to do with my career is actually wanted to be a drag racer. So 5, 6 years old, I started getting into go-karts.
But instead
6,
you became
7.
a drag queen.
Yep, I did both. 6, 7 years old, I was doing a bunch of rookie sportsmans with the KT100 Yamaha motors. And then I kind of did the whole go-kart thing for a while. And then I got into junior dragsters probably about 7 or 8 years old. 8 or 9. Yeah, I was running junior dragsters. So I did that because my mom, when we moved out here from California, Arizona, my mom helped run Firebird Raceway, which is now Wild Horse Motorsports Park.
I didn't know any of this, man.
Yeah. So my
Wait,
mom...
So you're a Cali boy?
I was a Cali boy, yep.
Where were you born? I don't even know this.
Yeah. No, so I was born out in Torrance, California, literally Ascot, right where Ascot was at. So we lived, actually, if Ascot was right here, we lived on the back side of Ascot. So we had a house, like literally, we can walk to the racetrack.
Now, when you say you're 7-year-old doing mini drags, I'm trying to picture your body shape.
I'm sure there's pictures on my Facebook.
It looked like a kidney bean.
How many pounds? Were you shaped like a keg? Were you shaped like a...
I had a rat
pregnant giraffe?
tail, actually. My haircut of choice was a rat tail.
I had a rat tail. for a
Oh, did
minute.
you?
Yeah, it was beautiful. Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, Sam's
Wow.
getting all the love today.
She's
You-
got booze breath, though.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no, she's going to
The
come
Booze
at me.
Brothers.
I have booze breath too. Do you want me to kiss you?
Ow!
It's a different place.
Yeah,
Different game.
she was going to...
She's going to give me an Australian kiss.
Ooh.
Ooh. Hey ho.
Hey,
I'm
ho.
not even gonna-
I think
I'm
I think
not
she's
even
not
gonna mention-
listening.
I'm not even gonna
I think it's
mention his
okay.
name around her.
Anyways,
Anyways,
Man,
you
if this
grew
is
up-
what a guest feels like, it sucks.
yeah, it sucks, dude. You're the house.
No.
You're doing mini drags. What are those? What are the mini dragsters? Like, what's a kid's drag car look like?
A
what's a
junior
kid-
dragster. It's it looks like a full size dragster, but it's scaled down by I don't even know.
Like a full size like funny car, or full size
dragster, like top fuel
uh,
dragster.
top fuel. Damn.
Yep. So it was obviously only had like the rule was you had to run a 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton engine, but obviously you can build them to any which way. But those 5 horsepower Briggs Strands were making probably 15, 20 horsepower after everybody was done with them.
But you're a 7-year-old, you said?
Yeah, that's kind of what they look like right there. So I had actually a Castrol Syntec junior dragster, which I'm trying to find. Which I was a big fan of Castrol Syntec as John Force
Castrol
was
Junior.
Castrol GTX. So I was a big drag racing fan back in the day.
What would those run?
What would those run? They would only run like the 8th mile, and they'd I couldn't even tell you. Not very
what
fast,
kind
like
of
76 miles an hour.
What kind of engine?
It was a Briggs and Stratton.
But what is that?
Just a Briggs and Stratton 4-stroke little lawnmower engine.
Oh, like a lawnmower.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but
Single
the,
piston?
it's probably like a
Single cylinder, yep.
2-stroke.
No, 4-stroke.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh,
And I like the idea that if it's anything like watching youth soccer, like 7-year-olds play soccer, where it's just a bunch of kids like picking their noses and playing with flowers, like the idea that's like Corey, just like behind the wheel of the sink is a gas, and then like slowly just like turns into the wall. It's like
Yeah, wow.
there's boogers under the the little car dashboard, and
yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to see what other if I have any.
So you got kicked out of that for doing drugs.
Yeah, I got into PCP at the age of 10.
I don't know
And,
what.
I'm just kidding. No, so I did junior drags for a while, and then I ended up getting back into road racing, the go-karts. So I went back to road racing go-karts. Because the thing I realized what I didn't like about drag racing, and this is honestly what got me out of it, was the wait time between runs is what I really hated the most. Because I didn't have the patience for drag racing anymore, because we would go out there, do a 14-second run, and then we'd wait 6 hours before we did another run. And so we would do 4 runs a day at 8 to 12 seconds in the 8th, and then we'd sit around and wait all day, which I got bored.
Gotta have patience, Corey-san.
Oh, thank you, Daniel.
Put on the stilettos for the drag race.
Very good.
So track racing is just where he dresses as a girl and put on heels and run.
But you never heard of RuPaul's Drag Race?
Oh, I've heard of
That
that.
whole
I
show.
haven't made it through a full episode yet, but
So you get back in little shifty carts?
yeah, like
Or
go
driving
back.
those?
I go back into go karts, and once again, that was a little much faster paced, a little bit more fun. I like the head-to-head competition. I like the consecutive laps. That was kind of more my speed. I also rode dirt bikes at the time. Obviously, my dad coming from a dirt track and motorcycle background, I got into dirt bikes, but I ended up hurting myself way too much. I broke my collarbone 2 times, broke my arm, broke my
Ouch.
ankle, broke my leg. And like breaking all those bones by 10 or 12 was just like, my dad was like, all right. It was more so my mom. My mom was like, God dang, we're not going to have a kid much longer if he keeps just crashing all the time. And
What was that from dirt biking?
yeah.
This is Papa Hosford.
Yeah.
Like, our kid's just getting dumber and dumber every time
Man,
he
crashes
falls,
and he just,
and like,
man, soon he's not going to, you put him back on 4 wheels.
like, well, one of these days he's gonna he's gonna try to drift or something
And
like
I was
that, something
thinking,
stupid like that.
Yeah, at one point I had to put training wheels on my dirt bike so I didn't fall over. No,
Hell yeah.
no, I'm just kidding. But so that was kind of it. Dabbled in that, but yeah, I just came from a family that raced, and I was lucky enough to get to an age when I was like in junior high and 6th, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. It's like, all right, do we send him to college? And I was like, nope, we're gonna spend all that money and go racing again. And once again, I give my parents so much freaking credit, because I'm sure they could have saved a lot of money by putting me in college, because to go racing at a young age, and especially my family running, or not really running, they worked full time for us to go race. So they supported me and my 3 brothers off a very middle class income for us to go compete.
I just sent Brian a photo. You can just show it real quick.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
Yep. Look at that.
look at that photo right
Look
there.
at that. Corey and the Hosfords.
Yeah, so that's
Wait,
my.
I'm dead serious. Which one's you?
I'm the one on the far right in the black suit.
The blonde one.
At first, I guessed the middle, but then I realized that doesn't really look much. Yeah.
See, so I had a bowl cut. That was.
But you're going with the slick back look. I like
Oh
that.
yeah, I had a ponytail in that picture actually, like Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal.
So I had a Steven Seagal haircut.
Where are you guys, in Greece?
No, that
Look at
was.
those great columns.
That
Oh, yeah.
was
Very aesthetic.
I remember that photo because we went to like a little like one of those hole in the wall photo studio places because my mom was like, why don't you get a photo of all you guys in your race suits? So funny thing is those 2 trophies are actually my older brother's trophies. Me and my little brother haven't made a trophy yet. So we mocked up my 2 brothers' trophies. That suit was actually hand-me-down. My older brother's in the blue suit there, so I got his hand-me-downs. Those black racing shoes were actually my first racing shoes. They're a Bell. We were a big fan of Bell because back in the day, Bell with motorcycle helmets. My dad was a big fan of Bell. So everything we got was Bell. And that was probably me at 10, 12 years old, maybe.
At the how do you say, at the cherry,
at the Greek,
cherry age.
festival.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, so that was the young age stuff. But like I said, my parents had average jobs. They were, middle class income, and they saw the enjoyment that we got out of competing in racing and motorsports. And it was funny because obviously out here in Arizona we have News Channel 3, and actually we were at a go-kart race. And Paco, my dad.
Oh yeah, I know your dad.
He's probably one of the biggest maniacs you'll ever meet in your life.
He's a wild man.
He's a
He's a lawless individual.
Yeah, so my dad is definitely a wild man, and I remember this specific. I remember the news asked him to be on the news. Hey, do you want to go-kart racing for young kids? It's getting more popular. Do you just want to give a few words to the audience, kind of let them know why you're involved with this? I remember watching
What's his
this.
live?
So my dad is wearing a tank top. Right? My dad's a bigger dude. He's wearing a tank top. I remember both his titties hanging out on the side, and he's wearing like a golfer hat. I don't know why he never wears a golfer hat, but he's wearing like this golfer hat.
He just had one on hand.
And the interview, I remember them interviewing for like 10 or 15 minutes, and they literally took a 10-second piece out of his whole interview. And all the thing that made it was, the reason why we go kart race is because it's like Little League, but it's on 4 wheels. We have more fun on 4 wheels. And that was his. And I was like, God dang, Dad.
That was Papa Hosford's 10 seconds of fame.
But that's
TV.
the thing is, I think at that age, I think parents are always looking to see what they can get their kids into. Like, we really got to get into sports or extracurricular activities. And for us, it was just go-karts and cars and the racetrack.
Yeah, my dad got me into knitting.
To knitting, yeah.
Actually, I decided I was going to start a knitting podcast until they realized there's a knitting podcast that it's above us. So not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's where the big views are.
Yeah.
So what happened then, Corey?
So I think like I said, I think we got to out of high school, and it's just like, all right, well, what this is a point where we have to decide.
I didn't know we're at high school yet.
Yeah, because we 7th, 8th grade, racing go-karts, junior drags, doing everything. And we traveled a lot doing the go-kart racing. And then
Were you ever any good? Did you get trophies?
Yeah, I got trophies. We did pretty good. We ran IKF, which is International Kart Federation. We raced SCUSA, which is a super kart. I can't even remember. Super kart something association, United States, blah, blah, blah.
SCUSA?
Super karts of the United States.
Scootsy.
Whatever. It's been forever. But... yeah, I think the big turning point is when we started getting old enough to kind of say, well, what do you want to do with our lives? I think that's when we kind of started having this idea of, okay, well, would you go to college, or do we just keep pursuing this wild dream of being this race car driver?
You say college? Hell no.
What's that? I don't need that.
I don't need no. I don't need no damn teaching lady telling me what to
10,
do.
21?
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Those are really good teacher impressions.
Yeah. So yeah, I think at that point I was, 16, 17, 18, just getting out of high school. And at this time I've met Michael McDowell, who's in NASCAR now, and I was friends with Ari Leindyke Jr. and my brother Brian. That's when the Bonnarant School out here started getting super popular. And so I had a bunch of referrals for the Bonnarant School when I was probably 17 years old, 16 years old, just getting ready to get out of high school. So I took a part-time job at Bonnarant. So I was actually a go-kart mechanic at Bonnarant because they had the go-kart school at that time.
What year were you born again?
I was born in 84.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you said what age? You're 18.
I was probably 16 or 17 when I got offered the job at Bonnarant. So that would
be
99, 2000, 2002. Yep, roughly. Yep.
So that's funny though, is that you were a go-kart mechanic there. I told you that my mom took me there for I got a ride along, a hot lap on like my 15th or 16th birthday. I don't remember, but yeah, you were probably there in the background.
At some point, you guys were there.
Well, at that time, when I started working at Bonnarant, I was working next to guys like Darren Law, Johnny O'Connell, Buddy Rice. which are all 1 to 24-hour Le Mans, factory Porsche, factory Corvette, Indy 500 winner. My brother was there, and I think that's where I started driving a lot more. I started, at that time we had Ford Mustangs. Bondurant was sponsored by Ford, so we were driving Ford Mustangs every single night. I'm driving with guys that are 25, 26 years old, and these guys are already championship running winners, and in a whole bunch of different road racing series. So that's when I really started getting motivated with driving, as I was driving with some of the best drivers in the world. And so during the day, I'd go in there, I'd work on go-karts all day long. And then I would teach a go-kart class at night. And in the morning, I'd show up back to work super early so I can go drive with these guys.
Which, by the way, Randy Sorensen just pitched in is Supercard USA,
Yep.
SCUSA.
Yep, there you go.
That's cool.
So so I started just driving more, and I started learning. And my whole idea was, Bondurant's a super cool place to work. You get to be around cars every day. You're learning how to drive. You have some of the best drivers in the United States here working there at the time. So why don't I stay here for a while? So I ended up starting off as a go-kart mechanic part-time, do a full-time go-kart instructor, then a part-time car school instructor, and then I went to a full-time car school instructor. I worked at Bondurant for almost 12 years.
12?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I was at Bondurant for 12 years, and
You're like this close from owning that place.
Dude, I probably could have, but the thing is the turnover rate at that place it's pretty small, because you go out there and you get to drive every day. You have access to all the tracks whenever you want them. At that time when we were working on go-karts or working on cars, we just take them out to Bondurant, and they'd say, "Yeah, sure, go for it."
So, sorry, did you have you did some instructing too at Bondurant as well, right? Did you have any stories of anybody famous or anybody you instructed for? Or?
Oh, dude, yeah. So I've actually, oh man, this is
Well, I remember
it's so weird talking about myself on the show. It's so
Yeah, I
freaking
know.
weird.
This is not your show. All right,
No,
so
it's his show. What are you
no,
talking
today
about?
he is the guest.
It's so weird talking about this stuff. But
I remember seeing photos of you with Juan Pablo Montoya, for example.
Juan Pablo Montoya,
My
Eddie
boy.
and Alex Van Halen, Bear Grylls, Slash, 50 Cent. I actually did 2 Super Bowl Grand Prix, the celebrity go-kart races and the celebrity races.
Nice.
So we'd fly out with Cadillac and do, instructing for all the celebrities. I actually crashed Jimmy Fallon into a hay bale.
Hell yeah.
I was actually because it was Super Bowl for Houston. I can't remember what year that was, but we would set up a hay bale course, and we'd come and we'd do the training. We'd hang out with the guys. We'd drive with them, and because a lot of these guys never driven. We had Paris Hilton and Nikki Hilton out there, and you can imagine them driving a go kart.
I can hardly imagine you fitting on a golf
It
cart.
was Jimmy Fallon, Adam Carolla, and who else?
That was
the
for
Man
the
Show.
Man
So,
Show.
yeah, who was the other
Yeah.
guy? He has his own.
Andy Milonakis.
No, it was Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel, yeah. So we're out there dicing around, and this was like private practice. Nobody's really there. And so Jimmy starts bumping me from behind, and I'm like, oh, this guy's getting ready to go.
Oh, stop
All
it,
right.
you silly Jimmy.
So the course was like this weird horseshoe, and then it came up to a long straightaway, and then it went to a tight left-hander. So I kind of like checked up, and he got around, and he's like full tuck behind the little fairing there. And I just stay on the inside because we're coming up to the left-hander, and I just stay on the inside, and I just keep driving straight until I see him. Literally, I see him tucked down behind the fairing, and I see him a stack of hay bales, like a brrrr, over him. I'm like, fuck, I just killed the guy. So I ended up parking the car, run over there, and he's laying there like reclined back. He's reclined back with hay bales. He's like, God damn, you fucking really drove me off the road, didn't you? And I was like, bro. I'm like, you almost drove me into the fence. But I ended up stuffing Jimmy Fallon into some hay bales, that was probably a fun story. What else?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
There's been a couple.
What it's like working for Bob Bondurant, like racing legend, Le Mans champion,
What is it like? I think what it was Bob was obviously doing his own thing around the business, but what was the funnest part was working with all the other talented drivers. Like, that was the best part. Don't get me wrong, Bob's a super cool dude, has tons of crazy stories. He'll tell you about Ford and his championship and beating Ferrari, because he was the guy with Carroll Shelby that did all those crazy accomplishments.
For those who don't know, like that, when Ford brought out the GT40 to Le Mans, specifically to beat Ferrari, Bob Bondurant was on the wheel. It was like a three man team, right?
Yeah.
Or 4-man team.
It was
but-
like Gurney, Bondurant, and Shelby or
Yeah.
So anyway, so working with him, obviously he tells you all the stories, and once again, Bob was a guy that didn't come from money and earned his way up to driving the Ford GT and winning the championship, being Ferrari, and then ended up actually getting a Ferrari F1 ride, which not many people really knew about that. But Bob was one of the first Americans to drive for Ferrari in Formula One, and he actually crashed a Ferrari. Ended up breaking his back and his legs, put him in a hospital. The doctor said he'd never walk again. So that's how I actually thought of the racing school. He's like, dude, well, I'm not going to walk again. I'm not, I'm super unhealthy now. My back's broken, my legs are broken. So why don't I just teach people how to drive? And so that's actually where the racing school started, from when he crashed his Formula One car at Monaco or somewhere. I can't remember the track.
So that's when he grabbed the phone and called you, Corey. I need to put a team together. I'm putting a team together. Only the best. And you were all like, I promise I'll never go back to it.
No. But being at that place, like, super cool. Met tons of people. And honestly, before that point, one of the biggest things that I got out of Bondurant, and a lot of people may not know this, is I used to be like a recluse, dude. I used to not like doing things. I used to not like talking to people. I like going home. I like playing my video games. I was very quiet. But
nothing has really changed.
Nothing. Well, it hasn't really changed now. But I was just one of those dudes that didn't really want to talk to anybody. I was just so reclusive, and I was happy with and content with, my day-to-day activities, just being alone.
Did you wear any deodorant?
I was probably I did at that time, but I was probably borrowing it.
Okay, that's maybe one of the reasons.
Yeah. So but being there, one thing, it taught me a lot about driving, but it also taught me the value of communication and talking to people and relating to people. Because, one day I'll be working with, Eddie and Alex Van Halen, then I'd be working with Rob Walton, the owner of Walmart, and then I'd be working with Ron Pratt, and then I'd be working with, these other people that are financially so much more capable than you and have so many more resources than you. But at the end of the day, your value of being an instructor and a race car driver is equally as value on track as their money is off track. So they look at you with a mutual respect, because they want to learn from your experience.
I just found the thing where we connected.
What's
right
that?
There. Eddie Van Halen went to Guadalajara to open. He owns one of these tequila brands.
Yep.
And my dad did all the air conditioning for his offices. And I got to meet him, like, briefly, obviously.
Right.
So there you go. So by the time you were driving with Eddie Van Halen, I was with my dad installing air conditioning.
Yeah, I'm going to find a picture for Brian, because I think I still have that picture on my Facebook as I'm kind of digging through this. But, yeah, so that was the big thing that I got out of Bondurant. I found out the value of communication. I met people. And that's when I really started looking at, okay.
You probably learn how to, like, talk to people, like, because every driver, every student you get in, that you have to talk to them, like, in a way that he understands.
Absolutely. You would.
That's an acquired skill. Not everybody can just, like, talk to somebody. Like, you can just tell, okay, you're gonna do this and that and do it.
No,
it takes patience. How you say, tact.
Well, it takes, because here's the thing is, like, right now, for most part, I think Bondurant still does this, but most other racing schools, they would have headphones on the actual drivers, and the instructors teach from outside the car, and every now and then they'd hop in. So for us, we were riding shotgun with these maniacs, like, every single day. And I'm telling you, so here's a story. One day we had a bunch of Asian kids, foreign exchange students, show up, and they all bought Ferraris. They all bought brand new Ferraris. And
who are these kids?
They're foreign exchange students from China. They're coming to school.
Oh, I thought like the new kids from the block or something like that, like having that much money.
No, but this is the type of clientele we get sometimes, is they want to become better drivers. But here, Brian, actually, if you go back to the photo,
Well, I just wanted to point something out in this photo in particular. I'm in this photo with you.
No, you're not.
I am in the background.
Switch it.
Yeah, by the fence. Here, let me pull it in a little bit because I just saw this right now, and I'm kind of like a little blown away. This was the same event where you were doing donuts out in this cart, and there was a Crown Vic doing drifting as well, and we were all behind this fence.
That was James Bondurant, right?
What's that?
The Crown Vic?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
no, my brother Brian drove it, and Tim Maddox. James wasn't driving at that time. So that's me. So this was, what show was this?
This was in 2000. God, this was a long time ago.
Yeah, what year was this?
See,
can you,
it was
can you actually see yourself? B-Balls?
2005. It was either 2005 or 2006 because
Right.
I see my ex in there as well. So I was with her at the same
I can
time.
totally
Where are
see-
you? B-Balls?
I'm if you see the fence pole on
Yeah.
the left,
Black
I'm
shirt.
yeah, the
Oh,
black
there
shirt.
you are. Oh my
Yep.
God,
I
Brian,
thought
look
that
at
looked
you.
like you. That's hilarious.
So
Yep.
me and my brother Brian and Tim were doing that show, and we were taking turns driving the Crown Vic, which had
Yep.
a Cobra motor, and
That
we had the
was
red
sick.
GTO.
Yep, that was
And
sick.
my brother actually caught the Crown Vic on fire that night. And yeah, so this was like 2004, 2005.
Yeah, it was 2005 at least.
But that's some of the opportunities that came with being there. Is there? Once again, I didn't have the money to drive race cars or Ford race cars
Are
at
those
the time. So
were
this
those
was-
fire retardant shorts?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually wearing fire retardant shorts and peyote shoes, just in case my legs caught on fire.
Yeah.
But if you go back to that same album, Brian,
yeah.
you guys are gonna freaking get a crack out of this for you guys that are
Uh-oh.
watching. Scroll down a little bit. See, that's me and Bear Grylls right there. If you keep going down or to the down one more.
Okay, then hold on.
Oh God. Scroll up just a little bit. It should be right below that. Is there another album that I'm missing? No, it's in that album. It looks like it's right next. It's to the left of that Mazda, the Formula Mazda. Do you see me standing next to two guys?
Yeah.
So that's Eddie and Alex Van Halen. So that's me, pre-mustache.
Wow, pre-mustache and what, like 300 pounds ago?
Yep, that was probably 2008.
Wow.
Can you pull up a
2007.
photo of Greg Busey? I think his name.
Gary Busey?
Gary Busey's kid.
Oh, Greg.
Starship Troopers. That's one of the
I think you
Greg.
guys are. You are Gary Busey's lost
Hold on,
son.
I got it. What's his name? Jake Busey. Excuse me. If you could pull up a picture of Jake Busey,
Yeah.
Starship Troopers
Young,
era. and
young
put it next
Brian
to
is
there.
on it right now.
Let's see. But if you go back, you could show them the other one.
Yeah.
How beautiful I was at 18, 20 years old.
The tender age of 18.
He was so tender.
I was a little tender. I was a really soft boy. I was a fat, skinny kid. Let's see. So that photo right there, you see that one on the mini bike? That's actually from the Super Bowl. You can pull that up. That was from the Super Bowl in Houston. I took my pit bike.
Jeez.
That's actually me on my pit bike next to Jesse James and the West Coast Choppers crew. And everything. So I was cruising around Houston.
You were
riding,
showing Jesse James how
so
it's done.
I was actually riding on the sidewalk, chasing Jesse James and West Coast Choppers around on my Peely 50. Yeah. And the blocks in Houston were only like, maybe 1,000 feet. So I'd be jumping the sidewalk, cruising around with West Coast Choppers.
I can tell you were
I
totally
just sent really good.
We were
Jake
actually
Busey
staring at
photo
just staring-
comparison here.
Yep.
You were totally introverted. I can tell.
Yep. So let those guys know. Oh boy, this is all throwback. So this. Okay,
That's
hold
your-
on.
that's your
But
Oldsmobile.
let's work our way into that. Let's work our
Okay,
way into
okay.
that, Brian. So getting out of Bonnarant, started learning a lot about myself. Started learning about racing. I learned the valuable means of communication and meeting and maintaining relationships and just the power of networking. And so at that point, once again, I made the full commitment. I'm not going to college, and that I'm going to be a dirt track bomber enduro racer. So, obviously,
That was what
I love the jeans jacket you got on. Yeah, it's
that
pretty
was
sweet.
planned. So
Yeah.
was that an Oldsmobile Delta?
that was a Delta 88.
Delta 88.
Yep. So this is where my racing career began, right here.
I can tell it was going uphill.
I purposely wore that because I wanted to wear the typical redneck Canadian tuxedo as a racing suit. And I got a funny story about that. But anyways, I'm like, do you know what? This was when Manzanita Raceway, which was one of the most historic
Yeah, here in
dirt
Phoenix.
track here in Phoenix, was about ready to shut down. I'm like, do you know what? My goal is I need to race in something at Manzanita before it closed down because it's a history of motorsports. I needed to do something at Manzanita. So I was like, all right, well, I don't have a car. I'm not going to buy a sprint car. I'm not going to buy a dwarf car. But what can I do? I went to junkyards asking if they can lend me a car.
Jeff Jones's
Just
place?
lend you a car.
Yeah, I was like, hey, well, so if you guys remember Manzanita,
Yeah.
there was tons of automotive recycling shops
Around
So
it, yeah.
If it's a repo
Yeah.
or a pull apart or a scrap yard, sometimes these scrap yards would get cars that would run and they would just stick them in the back and they would either just crush them or scrap them for metal or they would just let them sit there. So I went up there one week and I literally went to every junkyard door to door saying, hey, do you guys have any bombers for sale or any stock cars? And I remember this. I went to one place and it was called We Buy Scrap. and I
I think
walked.
I remember seeing their ads around town.
That place probably still exists.
There's actually another picture up there, Brian. There was another Buick Regal that they gave me in there. But I remember going to We Buy Scrap, and I'm like, hey, is there anybody I can talk to? Yep, I put We Buy Scrap on the rear bumper. That's a Buick Regal. And anyways, I went door to door asking if anybody had junk cars that they're willing to give out. And what I would do is I said, well, do you know, at the end of the night, I'll bring them back to your junkyard so you can scrap them.
That's a Monte
And-
Carlo. Well,
No, that's
right.
It's a Regal.
Okay, yeah.
And so that was like my first encounter with denial and approval and sponsorships and working my own deal. And so I met a guy at We Buy Scrap, and I said, hey, man, do you know what? I know you're going to scrap these cars anyways, but if there's an opportunity where I can take one, I'll paint. I literally, with a paintbrush, wrote We Buy Scrap on it. I drew checkered boards on it. But he's like, do you know what? If you bring it back to me tomorrow morning, if it runs or doesn't run, you got yourself a deal.
Damn.
So,
Nice.
so that white Delta 88 was like my first personal race car.
Like that's like title sponsored.
Yeah, by We Buy
By
Scrap.
We Buy Scrap.
So were you trying to drift those? What were you doing with those? You just hooning around?
So it was actually, this is so redneck. I love it. So it was actually called the Bomber Enduro, and what that is, it's a 100-lap race on a quarter-mile dirt track. You do 50 laps one way with no cautions. It's 50 laps.
Oh, no matter what.
No
just-
matter what. So if you stop and you break down on track,
People drives around you.
Yep, you stay on. And then halfway, once you hit the 50 lap mark, they'll throw a yellow flag and flash yellow lights. You immediately do a U-turn. You run 50 laps the other way. So in that Regal and Delta 88, we did a Bomber Enduro at Manzanita, which was kind of like my goal, just to do a few laps there. But as dumb as it sounds, I learned a lot from that. You know, I learned that it's okay to knock on doors. It's okay to reach out, and that's where the drive kind of started with this whole racing thing. Was just that, literally that, asking for a
It's-
broken ass car.
It's literally crazy because like, this is something that like you don't go to school for this. Like there's no teaching on. All right, this is how you become a professional racer, and
Right.
when you start from the bottom, like you know, like literally cold calling, knocking
Yeah,
on
well,
doors.
once
and all
again, at
that
this
stuff.
point, there was really still no cell phones. Like, you know what I mean? You would just drive up there.
there was no LinkedIn.
Yeah, there was no. You can't message them on Facebook. It was just, you just go there and ask, or you go there and talk, and you create those relationships. And so,
Oh, look
That
who's
sounds
just
terrible.
joined,
I was so
Brian.
afraid of talking to people up until fairly recently. Just
Yeah.
like the idea of walking into some place and be like, "Hey, can I have money?"
Can I have money?
That's terrifying.
Look, Brian Hosford just joined.
yeah, it's funny.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, so that was kind of how the whole Bomber Enduro started, was just asking people if I can borrow a car and take it back to them. But once again, it was at that point for me is I'll do whatever it takes to get into any type of car.
What was your daily for your first car, your first daily?
It was a 1970 Volkswagen Bug.
Fuck
It was
yeah,
a law
Beetle
bug.
Yeah, and it was baby blue, and it was $500. And the seats in their pocket, you'd love this, were actually a Mexican blanket.
Uh-huh.
Yep, so we just had blown out seats with springs poking you in the balls with a Mexican blanket over on top of it.
Because you know how much I love Mexican blankets.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've ever owned one.
They're not even Mexican.
I just noticed those RS stickers in the back there behind you, Paco.
Yeah,
Very
you
good.
see, you see how I offsetted them.
It's very cool.
The right way.
The perspective is pretty proper.
Yeah, thank
Not
you.
to sidetrack. So what was your your Volkswagen? Did you trick it out or did you run into the ground? What did you do with that?
I actually tried tricking it out. I put a front lowering beam in it because I wanted to lower it a little bit. But I didn't have money or the resources to really build it, so I got
No Webers?
Nope, couldn't afford Webers. I want to do like a 1900cc dual Weber, like fully built up. All I did was the lowering beam. And one thing I remember about that is actually a couple things. God, we butchered that thing. Poor car.
Butchered.
So the front lowering beam, you have to pull the gas tank out to get to the hardware to pull the actual lower beam out. Well, I didn't know you could pull the gas tank out, so I actually cut holes in front of the car to get to the hardware underneath it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then what I did was I wanted to shave the top headlights on the front rolled fenders. So what I did was I ended up pulling the top yellow blinkers off and getting washers and welding washers to the bottom and then filling with Bondo.
Okay.
But that was one thing, and that was a
A
test.
thick cookie of Bondo.
Yeah. So that was kind of like a test car. I was never really, and I think that tells a lot too because I'm still not good working on cars of this day.
How old were you when you had your first car?
15 and a half.
Wow.
15 and a half, 16.
Yeah. It was definitely good quality body work.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can,
It was,
I can tell.
So if 2F is hiring, let me know.
Did you run that thing into the ground or crash it? What happened?
No, I ended up just driving it forever. It did
You
catch
drifted it on a parking lot.
I did drift it.
Tell us
I
about the
did bury
story.
it on top of, and I know my mom's watching, but I did bury it on top. I was actually going to Hollywood Video, and it was raining, and I was doing donuts in front of Hollywood Video, and ended up
Sure, as one does.
yeah, and I ended up parking it on top of a median. And the nice thing was, is I'm driving a Volkswagen Bug, so me and my buddy Alex were able to lift it up off and push it off the median because it was just a little car. But
Brian, don't you have like hoon stories at Hollywood Video too?
I don't even want to get into that. This is Corey's show.
I guess the Hollywood Video was a hooning
Well,
spot, huh?
yeah, it
It
was.
We're gonna get
was.
a Brian show
The
eventually
Rural
soon, so
University
don't worry, we can
Hollywood
save it for
Video.
that one.
Mine was almost school in Elliott, Hollywood Video, Hoon Central.
You were your VHS kid, or this was still your beta years?
This was VHS, but I think GameWorks or GameStop started popping
Game
up.
Crazy.
Game Crazy
I
started
used to work
popping
for
up.
Game Crazy.
Yep. So
Of course you did, Brian. Just quick trivia: Brian has worked pretty much everywhere.
oh,
No.
Oh, dude!
Yeah,
like, there's
no.
always a news story about like, oh, did I tell you when I work here? Like,
Hold on,
no.
save it for the Brian show.
Yeah, sorry.
Just like quick piece of trivia, but
Yeah. So Hollywood
Full
Video,
disclosure,
doing donuts.
Yep.
Paco
Hollywood.
and Brian already know this, but unfortunately, I have a business meeting in 15 minutes. I gotta go to, but
Does that mean you have to take a poop? Is that a business
no,
meeting?
yeah, something like that. Because our special guest was late, so I want to make sure we get
That
some
special
brass
guest.
tacks here.
All right. Yeah. No. Are you gonna come back, or how long is your meeting gonna be?
I don't know.
All right. All right. Well.
we're gonna
But,
let Sam go back into the darkness.
Let's talk about. Let's get down these cars.
Well,
a
also
little bit.
fun fact going up to that point, driving the Bomber Enduro and things like that. Let's go through all the racing stuff and let's talk about drifting. And this is the fact that Forsberg always corrects me on. I actually went to the second ever Formula Drift event.
That was in 2003.
That was at the Reliance Center in Houston, and this goes back.
No, this is. I'm sorry. You're right. That is right.
I went to the Reliance.
Forsberg trying to correct him.
Well, Ford, because I used to say like 2001, I went to the first ever drift event, but Ford was like, dude, FD wasn't even around in 2001 because I just obviously couldn't remember. I don't know, but yeah. So I went to and that's when I really started seeing drifting. Is I remember going to the Reliance Center, which was in a little parking lot in the back of the Reliance Stadium. It was actually a loading dock, and obviously you had the DA dudes out there. You had the Benihana Viper. You had the automatic IS 300. You had the El Camino. You had the Crown Victoria.
There was a Miata there too.
There
I
was a
think,
Miata.
yeah.
There was A86s. And that's when I was like, dude, this is really freaking cool. That's when the drifting bug kind of hit me was that first time. So we actually truck and trailer to Crown Victoria from Phoenix to Houston to
What?
go compete in Formula Drift with my buddy
So
James.
you were in a Crown Vic in Formula Drift.
I wasn't in it. I was crewing, or I was
Oh,
just a
okay,
part of
okay.
it. He was like, "Hey, man," because back then obviously it was just like a low tier.
What year
low
was
budget. What 2004, 2005?
Yeah, for Formula Drift. Yes,
Yeah.
you were right. It's 2004.
This was
Yeah.
James Bond run driving.
Yep. So it was
Automatic?
James. It was manual. It had a 5.0 Cobra motor in it with a Tremec 5-speed.
5-speed, yeah.
But it just had,
But it had full interior.
Yeah, full
like
interior,
full
yep.
rear back seats.
yeah, it had like a
door
roll hoop in
panels.
it. It had
I mean, properly built, that motor and the car, obviously, the motor and the transmission and everything is obviously pretty good. I bet someone could
Like-
build a really
but
nice
do you know what?
300
Now
300
it's-
horses.
It's funny that we talk about this now because I think this is where my bad juju started. Is James didn't qualify for that round.
He finished
Oh.
33rd.
He finished 33rd.
He passed
Now
the
that I
curse.
remembered, he
passed
passed
the
it on to
curse.
me. God damn it.
First the 33. You should change your number to 33.
No, I was actually
make it
I was gonna get
32.
a 33 tattooed underneath my armpit with an X through it. Actually,
Right in butthole.
Yeah, well, you can do that when you do Pro 1 and you qualify 32nd.
but that was my first drift event, and that's when I was like, dude, I love the sport. And I remember, I still tell Jared this to this day. I remember going to this event and watching these cars slide around, and as you can imagine, what drifting like was in 2004. The TAM wasn't the best, but I remember this specifically. I don't remember who it was, but I want to say it was an RX-7. They had the walls and they had cones like 10 feet off the wall, so the cars wouldn't get too close to the walls. And I remember a car coming through and like tagging all the cones, and Jared's like, and that's how you know you got proximity. He just knocked out all those cones. And he made it seem like it was part of the show. And I was like,
That was
oh
cool.
my God, that was awesome.
And
He had so much.
everybody's gonna try to knock the cones now.
Yeah. And I was just like, I remember seeing that and looking back, it was super funny. But so that
Wow.
was that was where my drifting bug started. So we drove from Phoenix to Houston, me and James. because he was going to go by himself anyways. I was like, dude, I'll go with you. And ended up driving out to Houston and sleeping in a van for 3 days doing Formula Drift Houston.
Lovely.
Damn.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys put a pin in that, and I want to hear this in the episode later. Hopefully come back to that and catch up between there and how we got to where we are today. But while I'm still here, I want to talk about your inaugural mission in the big yellow cheese car at Gridlife this last weekend.
Sam, that's going to be a long story, dude. How much time do you have? Because I have so much to talk about that.
I know, but there's stuff in the middle you can maybe go back to. I don't know, man. I just want to hear you talk about Gridlife a little.
No,
Hey, you know,
I don't want to rush that story because it's awesome. It's an awesome story, and I don't want to rush that. So you're gonna have to come back.
well, actually, Sam, when you leave, you can keep listening to the podcast
I
on
know,
your phone.
please.
There you
I
go.
want
So
to be a
that'll
part
be
of it,
fun.
but it's all good. There's no. If you want to wait, it's your show.
I don't want to wait.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
let's try to do this in chronological as possible because I want to build up to that because it is a super cool moment.
It is a big deal. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
by
wanna
now,
rush your show just 'cause
you're-
you're late.
You don't work at the zoo anymore.
Oh yeah, so I was working at the zoo at the time, slanging hot
so
dogs. That's
that's-
where the big zoo dog came in.
We need to put all the evidence we have so far
Yeah.
together. You know.
I'm actually working at Bondurant anymore.
Well, this was I did the zoo. Actually, I did the zoo right before Bonron. So the first Formula D round was probably zoo time, right around Big Zoo Dog Story.
So you were like 16 at the zoo?
Yep, I was probably 16, 17.
First job?
Yep,
One of your
yeah,
first
just
jobs?
because I left the zoo to go to Bonron. I guess that'd be considered a promotion. So what'd you do before this? Well, I was handling hot dogs and pizza, and I got fired because I had a penis hot dog. And then, so here I am. You guys cool with that? Let's go back.
Wait,
So-
wait, wait.
Hold on, we're about to do
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sandstorm.
Was
Yeah,
that sandstorm? I heard it right away.
So I do the Formula Drift. I come back and I actually buy my first 240, which I got off like a homeless guy that my dad knew.
Nice.
And I remember his name. His name was Smoogie. And he had a buddy called Jimmy the Drunken Jockey because they slept in a trailer. And I told my dad I want a 240. He's like, well, Smoogie and Jimmy the Drunken Jockey might have a 240 that'd sell you. And once again, this is like a junkyard, dude. And so I ended up paying $300 for running. I think it was a 89 single jingle coupe. And it didn't run right or anything like that. But when I started Bonron, I'd wait till it rained or would go wet the pad down. I'd just go donuts and figure eights and things like that.
Okay.
And
It was rear-wheel drive. That's what matters.
yeah. And I wanted to do an SR at the time, and SRs were reasonable. But once again, I was a broke kid that didn't have any money, so I just kept single jingling by myself in the rain. Ended up actually, once I realized I didn't have the money to go drifting, I ended up selling the car. And this is another cool story. How did I sell the car? I ended up putting up on Auto Trader because I think that was the hot shit back in the day to sell a car.
Yeah, I
Was
remember.
Auto Trader?
Auto Trader.
Is I put a car up for sale on Auto Trader, and it was a black 240 coupe. And the dude's like, well, do you know what? If you trailer it over to me, I'll take it, $800. And I was
Wow.
like, do you know what? That's a freaking deal because I paid $500 for it. So I'm gonna go.
This is pre-drift tax.
And this is okay. So me and my buddy Alex, we go up to Bonnaront. We load up the 240 on the trailer, and I must have drove about 15 miles. And before I get to the dude's house, and I remember this, I'm like 2 miles away from the dude's house. We're pulling off the freeway, and I'm getting ready to pull into another major intersection to head down towards his road. As I turned to go down the road to lead to the dude's house, the fucking car fell off the trailer.
What?
What the?
The car fell off the trailer. We didn't tie the front down, so it ended up just rolling back off the trailer. And I remember looking in the mirror. I felt that look back, and I see the 240 like spinning out
like
in the
drifting.
street.
He's like, I don't want to
I
go.
was like, oh my fucking god! I go, Alex, we just lost the 240. And he looks back, and so we flip a bitch. It was probably 9 o'clock at night, so there wasn't many cars on the road.
Oh man.
But we ended up
Lucky,
loading the
yeah.
240 back on and dumping it off the dude's house. He even fucking noticed. So yeah. So anyway, sold the 240 that I watched just launch off the trailer
Minutes before.
minutes before selling it. So that was kind of like my vengeance of
Yeah.
of getting rid of that thing.
In all fairness, professional drivers drop their cars off trailers just like that.
Oh, yeah, well, what happened to Matt Field? That was probably my buddy Alex driving Field's car around
and
Canada.
we've seen Turk doing that on his
Yep.
late show. Turk
Yep.
dropping it off, back it up, boom, it's the ground. I dropped Brett Supra Well,
Did you?
half of it.
Brett's new
It-
Supra.
Yeah, it came off my trailer.
What?
Yeah,
Does Brad know about this?
Yeah, well, dude, he was with me.
Okay.
We were trailering the car from your house, Sam, to his new house, and I only put 2 straps, like one in the front, one in the rear, kind of
Yeah.
like just like tying it together. I was like, it should be okay. I'm going very slow. I'm going super close. Nope, half of the car fell off the trailer. It didn't fall completely because it was like still attached
Right.
to the front strap. But yeah, we pulled it up with the ratchet strap little by little.
Yep.
Yeah, it was quite an endeavor.
That's when you know you made it.
Yeah,
That's a good key when you made it. So yeah, I ended up ditching a 240 off the trailer, and that kind of put a big hiatus in it. And then what ended up happening? So I ended up continue working at Bonner, and I sold a 240. James was still around; he was still drifting, and I was kind of like always in the back of my mind. But I realized how expensive it was still even then to build the car because there was really no big sponsors at the time. There was nobody really investing too much money in it. And it was a lot of these dudes owned their cars to do that. And at the time, I just didn't have the resources nor my family. So it was just like one of those things I put off, said maybe in the future we'll get there. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things that just had to wait because we weren't financially ready for it. So I continued working at Bondurant. We left Ford. We went with General Motors. The school left Ford, and we picked up Chevy as a sponsor. So we got all the new Corvettes and things like that, and we got Cadillac CTSVs. And
So wait, yeah, Bondurant used to be sponsored by Ford.
right, yeah,
They had Mustangs,
yep,
and then suddenly Ford was like, "All right, we're done."
yeah.
And then suddenly came to Chevy.
Chevrolet, yep.
No, Chevy. Chevy was right.
Chevy Chase,
Chevy, and you guys got a bunch of CTSVs,
right,
a bunch of Corvettes,
yep, and
some Pontiac G8s,
yep, G8s.
and what else? Like a couple of ZR1s,
That was ZR1s came later, but I remember we had Pontiac,
Pontiac
Cadillac,
G8s.
and Corvettes were the only ones. Because
Yeah.
later on, then they finally got the
Oh,
first
so
gen
that's right,
Camaro.
because you guys had the V6 CTS.
Yeah, and we had
with
Grand
a manual
Prix.
transmission.
We had Pontiac Grand Prix.
That's right.
We had supercharged Grand Prix. But so this is where kind of phase 2 started. So
Hold on, Corey, before phase 2, I gotta go, dog.
all right, dude.
Oh,
Oh, I wanted to say so much, but it sounds like you guys are going to cover the bases. I just want to say, Corey, once again, that I'm proud of you for getting your car together. I lost my bet. Corey did burn an entire lap, and he did burn an entire set of tires, so Forsberg lost his bet too.
Yep.
Proud of you, buddy,
Thanks,
and enjoy the rest of the show. with,
Hey.
the guys.
Thanks, dude.
bye, Sam.
We'll see you, Sam.
All right, I'll
Thanks for
catch
everything.
up with you guys later.
Later.
Adios.
Adios, Sway.
Now, don't say anything mean about me when I leave.
Oh no,
Suck it,
absolutely. Hey, Pinky,
All right.
Pinky, swear we won't.
Yep.
Great, bye.
Dude, I'm so glad he's
Sam's gone. He's a
Fuck.
butthole.
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
God, Sam's not a butthole. I take
hey,
that.
I love him. It was just his birthday.
Sam
Happy
is on a
birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, butthole. All right, thank you.
Oh, there you go. Fuck that guy, man.
Damn, he's gone.
Hate him.
Uh,
Hate him to the core.
Yep. Oh yeah,
Anyways,
Chevrolet. Yeah,
Chevrolet. So
this was kind of where phase 2 started, right? I've been at Bondurant for probably 5-6 years at this point when Chevrolet starts coming on board. But so I start meeting people at Chevrolet, and Chevy just worked a deal with Barrett Jackson at that time to do ride and drive programs and do all that programs.
Yep.
So now working with Chevy and meeting people at Chevy, they're like, "Hey, do you know what? Why don't you come out and do demos in a Corvette?" And I was like, "Oh, all right,
Well,
cool.
okay.
This is my first paid gig where I go drive a car around
Nice.
a little autocross." And so I went out there, and I remember it's just a stupid autocross course, but there was one hairpin where I'd slide the hairpin. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, everybody's going nuts! Let's keep doing that, keep giving rides." And I remember
this
it's the-
boy's wild.
yeah, the wild, crazy guys out there, and like, but doing that, GM was like, "Dude, why don't you come to Barrett Jackson, Florida, and do the same thing?"
Damn.
And I was like,
Oh, shoot.
"Okay, this is kind of cool.
Alright.
I'm not really drifting, but I can go out and
But now
work
you're
with
traveling.
Chevy and drive a Corvette that was
So
my own."
That was the first time you traveled to go race? Like you got paid to travel to go
Yep.
race?
It wasn't really racing. It was more of an exhibition.
Okay,
yeah,
true,
Right,
yeah,
right.
but that's
Yeah,
a paid
but get
driver.
paid driver. Yep. So I think that's where the professional driver finally start
Yeah.
getting kicked in, is because now I got flights, hotels, food. I got paid compensation, a day rate.
And how old are you by then?
And I was probably
20?
19 or 20.
See,
Yep.
like, all right. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so I was 19 or 20, and once again, I just started establishing a really good relationship with GM, and so
Yeah.
GM was able to. I did that probably for 3 years, just traveling around with General Motors, and so like at one point I was like, man, I would love to do something with you guys and build a drift car. I would love to build a drift car with you guys, but they didn't have much of a focus of it. They were more focused on doing these larger Barrett Jackson and Russo and Steele.
And Formula Drift was just starting at this
Formula
point.
Drift
It
was still young. Yep.
Very, very young.
Yep. So Formula Drift was still young, but
Like there was like El Camino's drift.
yeah, still, yeah, they were still out there doing that, and yeah, so that was like kind of like where phase 2 started, where I said, okay, do you know what? There might be a chance of doing something in automotive because now I'm finally doing it. I was able to make, bare bones working at the zoo and getting by doing part-time at Bonnarron, and that was kind of my sacrifice. My sacrifice was to get as much seat time and meet as many people as I can. Money didn't matter. Money didn't matter. My focus was on driving and going racing, and that's it. And so when I met the guys at General Motors, just through being kind of at the right spot and positioning myself, I finally started able to travel and drive and make a little bit of money. It wasn't much, but it was enough to say, do you know what? Okay, there is something here. So I did that for quite a bit. And then I would say that was from like 2006, 8, 9. It started getting up to 2010. So this is where the drifting in my life started, was in 2010, and this is another kind of weird story. And I'm the once again, I'm the guy that is just here's my mentality. If you guys don't know me, my mentality is just make it work. No matter what it is, we just got to make it work. I don't care how bad it is, how ugly it is, if it's impossible, we just got to find a way to make it work. And I wanted to drift so bad, and I knew my buddy Dustin,
Never heard of him.
Dustin Millard, Jensen Argyle. We were friends during this whole time, but he was really never more of the automotive. He was just my buddy that we'd go screw off with and, go ride dirt bikes. And he never really had that interest in racing.
Oh, or any kind of
or anything.
physical
We were just
activity.
buds. We were just buds that just hung out every single day, and just that's what we did.
No, it looks like he was a badass a motorcycle.
We got street bikes,
and
he
had like a mohawk at some point.
Yeah, obviously we would watch all the dirt bike videos, and we would watch all the street bike videos, and that's the other thing that we wanted to do. Crusty Demons of Dirt was actually the videos, and that's old school. And then you had Team LBZ, was the street bike crew that we all watched growing up and things. So yeah, we bought street bikes together, which was dumb. Actually, I used Dustin's credit to buy 2 street bikes. And Dustin's like, "Well, just get one with me." And that's the type of friends we are. He's like,
I'll buy
I'll buy a
two.
dirt bike, and I didn't have credit at the time. I never had a credit card. I was, freshly 18 years old. He's like, and keep in mind, Dustin's mom helped him like establish credit at a young age, and Dustin's parents are just like, we're very educated with.
You were the bad influence. Let's just put it like this.
Dustin was bad because me and Dustin always wanted to do everything together. He's like, if I do this, we're doing it together. So that was kind of our mentality, right? Is he was my right hand man through everything. So I'm buying a street bike. I don't care. I'll get you a street bike too. All right, cool. Let's get a street bike together. But that's where we merged in the drifting together too, because he wanted a street bike and do all these crazy things real bad. I did it with him, and then I said, do you know what? I want to go drifting real bad. He's like, all right, well, let's go do it then. So this is how the story started with getting into drifting. This is going back to the K Sports story. I may have told this once or twice.
Yep.
But
it's all good.
Yeah, so the K Sports story. So I told Dustin, I'm like, obviously he knew that, resources were tight, didn't have money, still trying to work full time to survive, and doing all these things to be a race car driver. Race cars drive, for me, a young race car driver is like a college student. Mm-hmm. You eat cup of noodles, and you put every little ounce of money away you can to go racing or turn a lap anywhere. I don't care if it's indoor go-karting or if it's going to the Friday night drags. You're saving every dollar to go, and that's what our lives were at that point. And so I'm like, Dustin, dude, I really want to do this drifting thing. I really do extremely bad. He's like, well, let's just figure it out. And I'm like, okay, let's fucking figure it out together. So, K-Sport story. K-Sport is a local-based company here in Arizona, and there was a video of Jason Beatty flipping over. Where was that?
Hot Import Nights, 2008, Firebird.
Okay.
Yep.
So 2008 Firebird, Jason Beatty was the old K-Sport driver, and he actually rode a K-Rail, flipped over, stood on the car, and I remember seeing that on like the World's Dumbest Drivers, actually. Did you ever see that?
It was a viral video,
It was a viral video on World's Dumbest Drivers, and I'm like, K-Sport drift car here in Arizona.
And he's like celebrating on top of the car. Yeah.
So I called Dustin. I'm like, hey, I guess there's a coilover company, a suspension company called K-Sport, and it's here in Arizona, and they had a fucking drift car. He's like, all right, well, let's go see if we can borrow it. And I'm like, okay, let's go see if we can borrow it. He's like, all right, so let's come up with a fucking plan. All right, let's get you in a drift car. So Dustin and I do research on what is K-Sport. Okay, it's K-Sport. Who owns K-Sport? Okay, we find the owner of K-Sport. All right, let's see how we can contact him. Dustin finds his cell phone number on the website.
Looked him on MySpace.
I don't remember where Dustin found him. He's like, dude, I found the owner of K-Sport's phone number. Why don't you call him? Let's call him tomorrow. And I was like, well, all right. What do we have to lose? I'm not afraid to knock him. So anyways, I call the owner of K-Sport out of the blue. And I'm like, hey, Nick, this is Corey. Hey, do you have a drift car laying around? Like, what do you have? And he's like, yeah, I do have a drift car, and it's just sitting back there. We might be putting a motor in. Obviously, he was like, we're just getting it rebuilt and things like that. I'm like, dude, that is so cool. Do you mind if I come down and just look at it and talk to you? And he's like, do you know we're super slammed? I'll call you when we have some free time, and I'll be more than happy to show you then. Obviously, 2-3 days go by and I don't get a phone call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, God damn,
Of course.
I'm never going to see this thing. And so I call back 3 days later. I'm like, hey, Nick, it's Corey again. I'm like, I'm right down the road. And I wasn't. But I'm right down the road. Do you mind if I just swing by and just say hi and just come check it out? And he's like, well, if you're right down the road, I guess you can just come by and say hi. So I was literally 15 miles away or 20 miles away from my house, and I fucking hop in the car, beeline it there.
Floor it.
Yeah, I floor it there because I didn't know what he was going to say, so I don't want to be sitting outside and, waiting for him to let me in. So I was like, oh, fuck, all right, cool. See you, I'm right there, right around the corner. Hop my car, beeline to K-Sport. So I remember going into K-Sport, and I walk in this dude's office.
And this is in 1974, so there's no
Yep.
really a lot of traffic.
Yep.
Yep.
So, yeah, I was actually at this time, I was driving a Chevy S10.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, so the S10 Iron Dookie 4-banger.
Ah, there you go.
It is. So Iron Dookie plays a role in my racing career.
the Dukester attacks.
And so I haul ass down to my Iron Dookie S10. I hop out. I walk inside. And once again, K-Sport, 4 dudes selling. And in the office in the back, you can see the light. And I'm like, okay, I probably have to walk to that office in the back. And I walk back there. And I'm like, hey Nick, it's Corey. Hey, you talked on the phone 3 days ago. And he's like, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm like, just wanted to say hi and meet you guys. And, I want to see the drift car. And so he's like, oh, okay, cool. I got 1 minute. So he literally walked out back. He walked me and he literally pulls a tarp off the car. He's like, oh, here's the drift car. And it was the orange S13
with an
hatch.
S15 front end,
Yeah,
right?
with the S15 headlights. And I was like, dude.
V8 already, right?
It was about ready to go in.
Okay.
So this is when Fueled Racing started, and so they were actually building the V8 kits off that particular car.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, we're trying to do a couple things to it. I'm like, why are you letting this cool car just sit here, man? I'm like, this thing is really cool. And
It already had all the livery and everything, right?
no, it didn't. It had a different livery.
Oh.
Actually, I have a video on my Facebook. I should probably link you my first time driving that car. But I'm like, you're just letting this thing sit here. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to put it in car shows and things. I'm like, why don't we try to do something? I'm like, I would love to do something with this. And I go, just let me know what I need to do on my end to drive this thing. That's it.
Yep.
And so he's like, all right, well, I'll consider. It's really good meeting you. Da-da-da-da-da. And so I left. And, a week goes by. I don't hear anything. I'm like, God. I'm like, here we go again. I'm not, just one of those things. But I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Dustin told me to call him back. I'm going to call this mofo back. So I'm like, hey, Nick, I just want you to know I'm still very interested in helping you out. Let me know what you need. At this time, I told him that I had the pad available at one of the racetracks through Bonnaroo. I called Bonnaroo. I'm like, can I borrow the pad for like a day to drive a car? And I didn't even know if I was going to drive it or not.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go to him saying, hey, I rented a pad. Why don't you let us come drive it? So I told him, I go, hey, dude, I got a pad rented for us for the day. Just let's go drive it. And he's like, let me think about it. So anyways, a couple hours go by and he calls back. He's like, do you know what? I do have 3 sets of tires here.
The car was ordered V8.
The car was finished at this point.
Nice.
The remainder of the week was to button up the car. He's like, let's just bring it out there. I want to just see if it runs. And I was like, awesome, dude. I'm like, cool. Just let me know when you get here. The pad's ours. We can go drive. And so I remember him pulling up in the 240 on a flatbed. And I was like, dude, this is fucking happening right now. Like we're doing something. I don't know what it was, but we were doing something is happening.
Yeah.
And
this is a drift car, like a purpose-built drift car.
at the time, it was a proper built drift car. It was like one of the first LS 240s.
Is that whatever? That's about the time where everybody in Formula Drift started doing V8s
Yep.
swaps, but there wasn't like swap kits available. Like this
No.
was a new thing.
And that's when obviously Fueled Racing started coming around at that time too, because Fueled Racing was one of the the first dudes that were doing the V8 swap kits where they would do the
Mass
engine
producing them,
mass
yeah.
producing them. Yeah, so they were one of the first
And
dudes doing that.
With one of the crazy things, like Todd, since then, and Todd is a owner of Fuel Racing.
Yep.
Since then, even on the boss, he still worked on the boss.
Yep.
Like, I mean, he's been there since day one, literally.
Yeah, Todd's been there since day one. Here, I'm going to send this to Brian real quick. Yeah, Todd of Field Racing's been there for day one. So, anyways, I ended up driving the car on the pad, and like I was just blown away. Actually, Brian, the video I sent you was the first time me driving the car. So, the drifting experience I had was just sliding around Corvettes and Cadillacs of Bear Jackson. I never had any drifting experience whatsoever. So, I was just going off of what I've done at these little Bear Jackson events, which was sliding one corner. And so the video that Brian's about ready to pull up was...
Give me a second here.
Yep.
It looks like it's in Mars.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so this
There we
was
go.
one of the dirt tracks
Beautiful
out here. And
desert.
so Jason Beatty, the old driver of that car, was there with me. And so we're kind of just rolling through the corner here.
Trying to do tandems.
Yeah, trying to do a tandem for
Dude,
the
look
first
at that!
time.
Look at that proximity.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first time driving a drift car right there.
Wow. Oh, that's it.
Yep.
Oh, that's a quick little clip.
Yeah. So, but
So
that was
is,
it. That was
that is literally Corey Hosford's first time ever drifting a drift car.
Yeah. Yep. So that was my first time driving a drift car. So, anyways, after that day of driving that, a week goes by, and I was like, man, I really sure hope something happens. I get a call from Nick out of nowhere. He's like, hey, man, there's an event coming up. Would you like to drive the car? And I was like, absolutely. He's
Wow,
like,
that's awesome.
He's like, it's a competition. Do you mind competing? I'm like, no, I don't mind competing.
I don't mind. I'll do it.
So that was
Send
my
me.
first event was XTC 2011. Jared Forsberg, Matt Petty, and there was one other judge.
Tony?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
But at this point, I didn't know what judging was. I didn't really know that speed was judged then. I didn't know. I was just going out there and drifting.
You just
the
got
course.
there and like,
I just wanted to go drive. And
Like
I
you-
ended
you-
up qualifying
you-
seventh, actually.
You were probably
Oh.
late to the driver's meeting.
Yep.
Like, didn't even know.
Yeah, I didn't know. I really just didn't
Yeah.
know. I just wanted to go drive. So I got a call back from K-Sport to go drive, and that's where my K-Sport relationship started. Was once again finding information, calling. I just wanted it. You know what I mean? And Dustin wanted it with me, and so his kind of encouragement into saying, "Dude, if you want it, just go get it. Just go get it. We'll find a way to do it. Just let's go get
Yeah.
it." And so through that phone call that we found off the internet, allowed me to do Pro-Am at Vegas Drift for 1 year, and then I did.
Wait, so you qualified seventh on that event, and then what happened?
I think I finished fifth or sixth, which was
Out of how many drivers showed up?
probably.
I remember XDC events were big.
Yeah, they were cool back then. They were super cool.
Like there
back
was
then.
like big rigs like pulling cars. You know, like it wasn't like
it was
just like
picking up. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty damn big. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
my first XDC, I met a ton of like I think Forsberg was there. I didn't met him because it's like there's Forsberg,
right.
and
Yeah.
I think Dan Brockett was there, and I met him. It was like, you're the guy from that Mustang video. With he's like, like XDC was a cool event.
Yeah, it was a super. It was.
And
a
you
cool
were
event.
driving to XDC,
Yeah, I drove XC for my first time ever drifting, and but
then you went to Vegas Drift.
I went to Vegas Drift right after that because Nick was like, "All right, cool, we did good. Let's see what we can do from here." And I ended up finishing third in Vegas Drift my first year, and then I went from Vegas Drift
Straight up.
right into FD.
Fuck it.
Yeah,
Fuck, let's
fuck
just
it,
build
let's
this-
just do
build
it.
a new car. Let's
Well, the
just-
thing was for me is I'll tell you why I did that, and it wasn't the smartest thing. I would never
Sure.
suggest people do that. But the thing is I didn't want the train to stop.
But here's the thing: back in the day, like around the time you started doing Formula Drift, that's about the same time where Daigo came in.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
before Daigo, it was kind of normal. Like a lot of drivers were just going straight to Formula Drift
Right.
after getting their license. If I'm not mistaken, George Marstanovic went right after
Yep.
he got his license.
Yep.
Chelsea Denofa, Pat Gooding, all these guys, they just showed up after
Danny
getting
George.
their
Was-
they got their license.
Well,
and
so
they
but
just
Chelsea
went-
Denofa drove a long time before he actually used his FD license.
Okay.
George Marstanovic did, and Danny did. But
Yeah.
but still, then it was once again it's just people.
But
who had a
again,
hard-
but
yeah.
what I'm saying is like that. I mean, even if the competition level was high, the cars weren't insane.
Well, so here, the reason why I jumped in FD, and this was,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I did get in when I got in. But the thing for me, I was worried for the train to stop because for me is I want to run the momentum out until it's dry.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know. Because as soon as you put a stop or a hurdle on thing, it's very difficult to get that
To catch back
roll
up.
rolling again. And so
Yeah.
the thing is, I have great guys around me. I have a motivated guy that owns a car, and if I feel I'm like, hey, do you know what, I'm not ready, then I didn't know if that would prevent it from going forward.
You didn't want to gamble him losing confidence in you
Right.
to continue, and yeah,
Right.
it totally made sense to just keep riding it.
So for me, obviously, the correct way is I wasn't the best drifter in the world. I've been doing it for a year and a half before I got into FD. But the idea was just let's just keep fucking going. We'll just keep going. We'll keep learning as we're going. And I just didn't want it to stop because I knew if we put a halt in it, then it could have just stopped everything, and I wouldn't have done anything. So that's the thing is I was able to capture those guys and just say, do you know what? We'll do whatever it takes, and we'll just keep going. So I ended up right out of Pro-Am my first year, actually year and a half of driving. We built the Z for SEMA, and that's where like kind of phase 3 started, where I really had to start meeting people and getting sponsors because the owner of Caseport at the time was like, I can't help you fully.
how was your first SEMA?
How was my first
How,
SEMA?
wasn't it overwhelming? So I remember my
I just
first
didn't-
SEMA. I wasn't even like a driver, or I was just there with 2F,
Right.
and I was just there going there as my first time, and I was like, whoa, like this like business owner. I'm the like
Right.
This is my like third year of 2F
Right.
performance. We're still very very young,
Right.
and I showed up. I was like,
What is this play?
it was insane.
You look like ET with your finger
Yeah.
up, just like.
And I remember you were there.
Yeah.
And I was hanging out with you, and you were just like walking around, and everybody's like, "Oh, hey, Corey Hosford, hey, what's up? Let's talk." And you guys were going into like the casting couch,
Yeah.
behind the
But
scenes.
the thing is, I never had that before. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
And
So,
so my
was your
first, so my
first-
first
how was
SEMA,
your first SEMA?
My first SEMA was. Here's the thing. At this point, I knew I had no option but just to try to achieve something. I don't know what I was going to achieve, but it's like, okay, K-Sport was only going to help so much. What can I do? I'm a new guy in this. How can I sell myself? How can I sell myself over these other champions that are selling themselves to the same people? How can I sell myself as a rookie, new driver in Formula Drift, brand new team that hasn't even competed? How can I do this?
Well, you had the body,
I had the body. I had the mind.
you had the mind,
I had the dexterity.
the dexterity, the
and-
mustache.
Yep. The strength.
I mean, dude, you were a powerhouse at that point.
But it's funny you say that because this is just how my mind thinks. God, this is so weird being on the show talking like this because I usually don't like.
Oh,
talking
This is
whatever.
great.
like
This is like
Yeah.
is the most in depth I've ever heard this story. So I'm enjoying this.
So this is just how my mind works. Once again, it's going back just to make it work. So I know I'm stepping in as an underdog, as a new guy, as somebody that really doesn't have many resources to propose to these companies, these $1 million companies, saying, "Hey, sponsor me. I'm a rookie driver in Formula Drift. Sponsor me. I'll put a sticker on your car." I was like, okay, I know this is not really going to work. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And so what I studied was what is the sport lacking at this point? And
Characters.
And that's kind of what it started. So I was with Hoonigan since 2011, right on my Pro-Am year. And so Hoonigan was growing the brand at the same time. I actually remember going to Hoonigan when it was in a studio as big as this room,
Wait. So you're saying you were with Hoonigan on your Pro-Am?
like right after my Pro-Am, yeah.
How do you link with them?
Hurt was actually just getting ready to move out to...
This was when Herd was still doing Beard Life.
Yep. Oh, yeah, 100%. And he was just finally getting involved with Hoonigan.
Yeah.
And so I remember Hurt asked me and Dustin if we wanted to be a Hoonigan in like 2000. Like, do you guys want to be part of the Hoonigans?
And so this is way before the Hoonigan become the next Hoonigan video.
That's actually what triggered. So I'll kind of tell you the story on
Okay.
that. So what I did is I studied what is the sport kind of lacking at this point, and what can I do to be different or differentiate myself from everybody else to have a selling point. And I was like, okay, well, and I kind of met Sam at this point. You know, Sam was slowly trickling in my life because I met Sam through a mutual friend of mine that my buddy Mark was like, hey, I have a guy that he's going to video school and he wants to shoot drifting. Do you mind if I, and so Mark was the median that put Sam and I together. So Sam actually I wonder if Sam still has the footage, but Sam was like, why don't we do a video shoot and you just say who you are and
Let's make it awkward.
Let's make it, you know, Sam was very like uncomfortable and PC. And
Sam was very like professional originally.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember the first time Sam told me, hey, Paco, do you want to go have lunch with Corey Hosford? I was like, ooh. I was just this guy who barely started going to drift events.
right.
And I remember this was even, I didn't, no, I had the van already.
Yep.
And at this point, I remember I met you at the track
Uh-huh.
because I needed duct tape for
Yep.
the e-brake. I needed
Oh
to-
my
so
God.
I
How
need-
things never change.
Yeah.
You'd still duct tape everything.
I needed to put something on the bottom for the e-brake
Okay.
and duct tape it so I could just like pull it and drift the van. This is the first time I got the van on track.
Yep.
There's no modifications. This is like just lowered. And I met you. It's like, hey guys, hey, like, you know, I'll drive the van. Like, I'm trying to, and you were like, oh yeah, dude, here's some orange duct tape. And I remember it's like, oh, this is like K-Sport duct tape. This is so cool. Like, you know, the Formula Drift driver is like hooking me up with orange
No.
duct tape.
No,
And,
I don't ever want to have that perception.
Well, but you were super cool. Like what I'm saying is like you were like, oh dude, like I drive the minivan. You were like, holy shit, that was so cool.
Yeah,
and
I
you
loved
came to look at it.
I remember
and-
the van.
and you even took it for a spin.
I did. I remember
And
that.
I-
I saw a video of that.
Yeah,
Are
have
you-
a couple photos. Like we're
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm here with Corey Hosford drifting the stupid minivan.
No, but so kind of going back to that story, you know, I met her, so invited me to be a Hoonigan 2011. I remember going to the Hoonigan office, which they shared with another building, which was literally as big as this room, which is probably, I would say these two rooms.
this room is huge.
How big is this room? 12,
It's probably like
12,000
the
square feet.
like half a football field.
No, this room's probably 300 square feet.
I
We had
don't
another, I would say it's about a 1,200 square foot room. I remember seeing like, I probably still have pictures of it, of like a couple first merch and stuff like that on the wall. And so they're like, all right, well, let's try to do something to initiate a new driver into our brand. Let's how
Yeah.
are we going to do this? And so my idea was like, do you know? Remember back in the day, throwback. If you wanted to become a pro skater, you make a VHS video and you submit it to the skateboard company, and it's usually this guy that's like, hey man, my name's Jeff, and I love skateboarding. I am so good at skateboarding. And then he does like half a kickflip and he misses it. And he like runs up a couple flights of stairs and jumps and like puts the board against his feet and land. You know what I mean? It's this character that wasn't very good, but believed he was the best. So I'm like, hey, what if you do like this amateur style, like I'm not very good, but I pretend I'm good type of guy? And they're like, shoot it and let's see what happens. So I called Sam. And I'm like, Sam, what do you think about doing this video where I'm like this wannabe cool drift guy, but I'm not very good at driving? And he's like, all right, I'll come over and shoot it. We shot that video in probably 2 to 3 hours. And then I submitted it to Hurt, and he's like, yep, nailed it. So what I did is I created my first piece of content right there. And what was funny was that one piece of content is what made going to SEMA that much more easier to navigate because people knew the video.
It was more solid.
And it was
yeah.
for me, I was like,
People will recognize you. Hey, you're that
you're
guy
the
from that
Hoonigan
video.
guy. You're the Hoonigan guy. You're the sponsor me Hoonigan guy. And that's what made it easier. And so my trigger was, okay, I'm an underdog. I don't have the resources to pay for my own season. There might be a void. A content was a void that I studied and found out. So I made my first piece of content with Sam, shared it with the Hoonigans, and it did pretty well at that time when YouTube was around. And so going to SEMA, people recognized me.
YouTube's still around, by the way.
Yeah, well, when it was first
before,
at that time.
yeah, YouTube was more friendly.
And so I used that as my sponsor deal. It's like, hey man, I'll make another video with you guys. And they were like, oh, if you can make another humorous video, we'd love to be a part of it because that's what we want. Is they saw the engagement. I think it's only at 50,000 views right now or something like that. But
I'm sending it. I'm sending it to Brian right now.
God.
Okay, cool.
You can play it without the audio in the
All right.
background. So
Yeah, but that was my trigger. That's what made SEMA easier for me because I had something that people were related to that hasn't been necessarily capitalized on yet. But that was
isn't it crazy like how things kind of like start like landing on each other and getting stuff gets put together. Because by the time this happened, I was also barely getting into drifting. Well, actually, I mean, I've been drifting the Corvette and my Datsun, but not consistently. Nobody really cared.
right.
And there's suddenly like, you know what? Fuck it. I just need to do something different.
Right.
And I wanted to get a Volvo wagon. Ended up getting a minivan.
Right.
And that's
you could probably play that, Brian, just as is. It's Sam's video, so it's not
yeah,
like-
just play it in the background. It's fine. Just like people can watch it.
And you can turn it up a little bit, actually. All
right,
Yeah,
hold on.
add a little volume. Press
Hold on.
play.
Let's ladies and gentlemen, the world premiere, Corey Hosford.
Here, start-
It's Corey Hosford. And
Here,
I
hold on,
want to be the next
transition it over.
Hoonigan. Reasons why I should
Here,
be a
Sure,
Hoonigan.
Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
My
give it a
name's
watch.
Corey Hosford, and I want to be the next Hoonigan.
So,
Reasons why I should be a Hoonigan. I got the strength. I got the body. I got the mind, the drive, the dexterity, the knowledge, the information. I have it all.
can you actually pause
Oh,
it
yeah,
real
pause
quick?
it real quick, Brian.
So,
that's a recurring joke.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a while.
But you know what's funny is half those stats that I got off of that, Brian will find this funny, was actually World of Warcraft stats.
That works.
Strength, dexterity, agility. Yeah, so that's where I got. So you can
Nice.
flop back.
All
over
right,
and
let's
play
go back to
So
it.
that's how my video game career played into.
All right,
into
here we
this.
go.
You rewind it? No, just pause it.
No,
and
I
like,
did
yeah.
pause
Every
it.
time I have the
There you
body,
go. Oh,
the
there you go.
dexterity, the knowledge, the information. I have it all put together in one complete package. I'm seriously one of the biggest Hoonigan fans. Made my own
so
Hoonigan
skinny.
T-shirt.
Yep, I was eating
I also
a
have the
sandwich.
wall
I don't know why I decided.
right here
I don't know why
by
me and
the
Sam decided we should be eating a
Every time I
sandwich during
walk
this
in, I
clip.
get fired.
It's perfect. The
Now,
peanut
some
butter.
of my favorite Hooners are including
My
Wait.
Hooners.
Christopher Forsberg, Kenny Blocks, Von Gittins Jr.,
They are.
I still have those
Ryan
photos.
Jurek. Hey, you or you eat? Being in tip-top shape. is important.
Pause it real quick. All right.
So I'll tell you what happened. So I found those pictures on the internet
Yeah.
and I photoshopped them together and I ran up to Staples and printed them out that morning.
But see, here's the thing. You know, once again, the whole mispronouncing the drivers' names. That's where all it started.
Yeah.
You know, like how if you guys are like the first time listener, long time caller, you know we always get them right on purpose. Is because of that. Like Christopher's Forsbergs and Von Gittings Jr.
Yeah.
You know, it somehow, and this is you and Sam just going wild on ideas and
No script, it was just an idea. But that's the thing is like, this is when me and Sam really became really good friends. Was
Yeah.
purely the creativity when we work together. Like, here's the thing I don't tell a lot of people is I get excited, equally excited as driving as creating.
yeah.
And so, like, even being in, like, the photo booth at Formula Drift or even being next to Sam doing concept creations or even doing the show, that gets me excited as driving. And so, like, that's why I think drifting is so unique because you can get creativity everywhere. And there's not many other forms of motorsports where you can be surrounded in creativity and ideas and be able to actually execute them. And that's one of the things. And so this was me and Sam's stupid, dry humor kind of coming out for the first time. And actually, if you go back to that, Brian, God, we're going to pierce ears with this. Yeah, you can go ahead, cut back over, and we'll just play a couple more parts of it.
You want me to just pick it up from here?
Yeah, just keep going.
Yeah, just go ahead and switch over, keep playing. I'll tell you just to fast forward if we need to.
I'm the king of my own home gym. Watch me as I lift weights.
Wait.
So Sam and I, this is where the dubstep joke started too, because at the time we obviously didn't like dubstep, but that was the most hardcore thing that we could possibly think of was adding dubstep tracks.
The best thing is Dustin is in the background all matching orange.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even know what to do.
So I was Team America, and Dustin's nickname that day was Creamsicle Man, because he was a human creamsicle. But that was in my garage at home.
Yeah.
And go ahead and fast
no,
forward it, Brian.
no. On your
My
home
home
gym.
gym,
Home gym. Yeah.
Here, fast forward it. Fast forward it to where we do a burnout and Graham Graham's So here's another funny story. Oh, you can play that part. I like that part too. We thought this. So I bought roller skates that morning because roller skating is one of the most hardcore things that I think anybody can do. So I picked up those roller skates for $24 from
24
from like a sports chalet or
You
something.
got
like
ripped.
Yep.
Ripped off.
that. Do you know how hard it is to find roller skates?
Especially those. Like
Yeah.
those weren't like inlines.
Yep.
Those are like
And
like
what other cooler thing is than shooting finger pistols at a camera in
Yeah.
slow mo to
Pew, pew, pew,
dubstep?
pew, pew, pew.
Once again, Sam's creation. Go ahead and fast forward it. Oh, there's
wait, wait.
Dustin.
You know, Corey's a real special kid. Me and his mom really supported him in all his endeavors. This week he's trying to be Hoovingen.
Is he drinking the log cabin syrup?
Of course.
I think so.
Yeah, you know, his grandma really stepped up to the plate and donated his first new used 100K powertrain warranty Celica. 3.9 GPA gets you Toyota Celica.
Boom!
Well, you know, terrible accident, freak accident actually.
Freak
accident.
accident.
A work truck took him right out, totaled it. So he scrounged together some family money, and you know he picked up E30 off his uncle Jim. Willing
Oh,
to sell it
man.
to
And
his
this is Dustin
price.
improving this too. You know what I
Really
mean?
Oh,
good
yeah.
shape. You know, leather interior, roof is in good shape. Whole rear end was nice. Yeah, all blippers work.
Same.
Never really got to see much of that BMW E30.
Is that a Sonic onesie?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still have that
Oh.
Sonic onesie. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Little
So Sam was
Couple-
like, "What we need to do this
a
actually."
few sizes too
so
small.
this is we shouldn't spend too much time on this, but this creativity actually was inspired by Pee Wee Herman, where he has the full bowl of cereal with a full box. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it is. Sam just dumped a full box of cereal into the bowl as Pee Wee Herman and do that. Go ahead, fast forward. I just want to show the burnout and the Sentra. Yeah, right there. Go ahead, back up. Right there. Go ahead and press play. Go ahead, trans. So Sam was like, "We need a
Gran Gran
burnout
fell
scene."
asleep. Sure enough, in her coat pocket, found her car keys to her brand new Sentra.
This is
saw this
Dread's
on a
Her
video
coat
of
pocket.
by the way.
Block hooning the tires off of it. Well, I'm gonna make sure.
I can already hear the thing
So go ahead,
knocking.
go ahead and
Out of
pause
Grammy
this real quick.
Central.
So Sam was like, "We need a driving scene." He calls Brett Hull. This is when we meet Bon John, the audio guy. This is my first time meeting the Bon John, the audio guy. Hey Brett, we need to use your car for a shoot real quick. Are you
He's
cool
like,
with it?
okay.
Yeah, sure, go for it. He didn't know we were
Sure.
gonna blow the tires off of it. He just thought we were gonna use it to run somewhere. So Sam's like, "Hey, I got Brett's car. Let's go do a burnout in
This
it."
was his like job car. Like
That was actually his work gave him that car to use to get back and forth to work. So Sam asked him if we can borrow it to use it on a video shoot.
and obviously
assuming-
Brad is awesome. So
yeah,
he's like,
Brett
yeah.
Hull. Yep. And I remember after that, he's like, "Just don't let my work see the video because Brett saw it afterward." But go ahead and play that scene real quick because it's one of my
All right,
favorites.
all right.
One super cool dude, American flag do rag,
Yep.
dubstep. It's going to blow your ears out right here with dubstep. Borrowed Brett's work car that he gets back and forth to work. And
Now,
tell him we're gonna use it on.
My
a video
question
shoot.
is, did you guys know it was that side that was gonna do the burnout?
No idea.
It was like just you nailed it first,
Yep.
first shot.
That was on the back of a school behind my house where we did that. But
I thought you weren't allowed
But-
like a thousand feet
oh
from,
yeah, with the
from school.
mustache. Yeah. But that was my end for SEMA. So
Yep.
once I saw the creativity come in and we can do this and how people responded, that was my goal. My goal was to create content and create ideas to open up doors. So that's actually how I was able to get funds and raise resources based off of content.
And people started talking to you because they
Yep.
liked what they saw. It just
Right.
makes sense.
Yep.
I was like, oh, you're that crazy guy with that weird ass video.
So anyways, after doing FD in 2012, we started creating more content and creating fun things. And at the end of 2012, that's where we met Forsberg. Forsberg kind of...
well, you met him at the track. I mean,
yeah,
you were
well,
driving
yeah,
a Z.
Yeah, I was
and
driving a Z, and I drove against Forsberg in Florida.
You obviously, it was a very close battle.
But the thing was, it was really weird is people knew the content. And it was really weird stepping into an FD battle, being the new guy, and people recognized what me and Sam
Yeah.
have done. That was the weirdest part is being a new guy. I remember Vaughn saying hi to me first time in Florida. He's like, "Man, I really like what you do, and I like your operation."
That's right, because back then, I mean, this is like when Turk is about to happen.
Right.
You know, like Turk was just barely starting to
Dude,
happen.
Forsberg talked
There
to
was
me.
no Forsberg. Remember, Forsberg
Well,
didn't even like go on camera.
So
He was like,
I'll tell you this. After 2012, going into 2013, when I partnered with Forsberg, we've talked about Drift Garage and we've talked about all these shows before they came to life. And one of the original ideas, it was going to be me and Forsberg. We've talked about this in his truck and trailer going to Texas, actually. I remember it. And I was going to be the dumb guy that didn't know much about cars, and Forsberg was going to be the knowledgeable guy teaching me about
The ropes, yeah.
Drift Garage. And so obviously he went off and did his things with that. But we talked about content and did things. And that's how Sam got introduced into drifting, was purely the content that Sam and I created is what Sam was in. That was the goal. My goal was to be the driver. Sam's goal was to be content creator in Formula Drift for drivers. And so once again, Sam and I kind of worked the same, and we said, well, let's just keep doing what we're doing. People are responding. Let's keep triggering this. And I blame a lot of the success on purely that. Finding a niche, finding another opportunity that wasn't oversaturated at the time, and just running with it. Once again, it's finding ways to adapt to grow. That was just my theory, our motto. It was me and Sam. We made a commitment to each other. If you go, I go with you. And if I go, you come with me. That was our motto.
It worked.
It worked a little bit. So
Yeah.
teamed up with Forsberg 2013. Once again, running at the pro level, seeing how a real team operates.
I just link people to the Boss Force 5-step program for Formula Drift success video.
Seeing how, and that's the thing is, so me and Forsberg made videos after that too, which did pretty good, over 100,000 views. Once again, this was in 2013. 100,000 views for a driver was really tough.
Yeah.
And then I did a 2 million view with Drive with Matt Farah, and I did another 150,000 view video with Matt Farah. So now I started creating content, and I started getting millions of views in 2013. And that's when, once again, I had a platform. That's what I'm selling. I'm not selling Formula Drift. I'm selling content, and Formula Drift was my platform to release it. That was my motto. And, people are like, man, you qualified 33rd. You didn't qualify. I qualified probably 5 times in 2 years out of 14 rounds. That's not very impressive. But to me, it gave me the opportunity to create what I wanted. Trust me, I wanted to win championships. I wanted to win.
Yeah.
But that wasn't winning to me. If I qualified it, I cared, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because I know what I can produce out of being there. And
Well,
that's what winning was to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we saw this. I mean, I'm not talking shit, but we
Right.
saw this with Michael Essa when he won. It's not like, like now I'm gonna get BMW's, sponsorship or something like that. It was totally the opposite. He came back not really with more than what he
Right.
It's a weird game.
Yeah.
Drifting is very different. Drifting, obviously you have to win, you have to do good, but it's definitely, since it's a judge sport, it's about personalities, about...
Well, you're not guaranteed anything.
Yeah.
That's
Well-
the thing you need to remember is in drifting, you're not guaranteed anything. You're not guaranteed to show up and have your car run. You're not guaranteed to win. You're not guaranteed to make top 32. So my point is how do you sell that to people?
Well, but see, like, I think in every racing, I mean, think about it. How many cars drive in NASCAR?
42, 44.
So 41 cars know they're not going to win.
Right.
Yet they still show up with millions of dollars.
Because they're
on their
selling the
program.
hope of being there, and they're selling the hope
Exactly.
of media.
So it's the whole, like, the media, the presentation, the, like, selling the driver, these guys. I mean, dude, I remember when the first race I ever went to a NASCAR, I spent, like, $200 in merch.
Right.
Sold JP. Old
Yeah.
Montoya, he's my boy. But I was like, oh, dude, I'm here at NASCAR. I bought
Right.
a lot of stuff
Yeah.
for Montoya's. So translate that to a sport where actually it is about being popular. It's about being seen, about being judged.
So this was the drive for me. Is everybody gives me a hard time about qualifying, and I turn it into a joke because that feeds the story. You know what I mean? That feeds the story, because winning to me is making people smile, putting on a show, and entertaining. That is my goal. That's me winning. If I make one person smile, or if I make one person laugh, that's me winning. So 33rd to me doesn't matter. 32 doesn't matter. If I can go out there and impact people through emotion, that's winning to me. And one thing that I realized is that if you can connect to people on an emotional level, it's more memorable than any winning.
Yep.
It really is, because you can go to one round and win, and everybody forgets that round. But if you look at Formula Drift as a whole, you can look at any round and ask, what do they remember about that round? And this may work for any of us. If you can go, and I use this example all the time, but if you can remember back to Florida 2 years ago, Chelsea Denofa jumping Tyler McQuarrie. Do you remember that? There's that photo of Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't remember who won that round.
You're right.
I have
don't.
no idea, but I remember that moment because why? It was something that emotionally triggered me to either say that was cool, or that guy was fucking nuts. And I remember that moment. So I started learning that triggering emotion and doing what makes people happy is a better return than actually winning for a lot of people.
Because they remember you.
Because they remember it. They'll remember that moment. They'll remember it's like, hey, dude, Corey, you did that Hoonigan video. You were wearing American do-rag. That's so fucking funny. Actually, a funny story about the mustache thing. I made a bet that I'd grow a mustache. I think it was with Dustin. Dustin's like, no, you won't. And I said, yeah, I will.
Is that because you didn't have a mustache before?
I never had a mustache before. I never even thought about growing mustache. I made a bet with Dustin, and I went to a Formula Drift round, and people were commenting on it. And I wore the blue blockers, and they're like, "Oh my god, you look like the Unabomber. You look like that one guy." And I saw the response that I was getting from it, and people were laughing at it because nobody else had that. So I was like, "Wait a second."
Yeah, I remember you brought mustaches to the round,
and
like
so what
I know you're giving him away.
So I saw that. I saw the way that people were responding to the mustache. One of the rounds, it's like, do you know what I'm gonna do? I made the bandana, which was a bandana you wore around your face to clear the smoke, but there was a mustache on it. So when you wore it around your face, you had a mustache.
It was a bandana.
And then I gave away fake mustaches. So that was another trigger to relate to people for some sort of humorous thing. It was
even your car had a mustache on the bumper.
Remember? It was a lift mustache or something like that, wasn't it?
Well, there was no lift then.
So that was just a novelty mustache.
Yeah, that was Danny George when he brought the whole lift thing. Like that was already old news.
Right.
Like this was, you had a mustache on the bumper in your car.
Right.
And
so
you were giving mustaches away from your pits.
Shane Rosen says, unfortunately, that show in the driving, that is supposed to be the best in the world. He said, so the show's supposed to be in the driving. That's what it is. Shots fired. That's not true, man.
Cool.
Shane in Facebook. Because I'll tell you this. You look at Mad Mike. You look at Conrad Grunwald in Atlanta. You remember those moments in practice and in qualifying where they do a backwards entry or they do some sort of crazy thing that's unorthodox that they wouldn't get in competition, and that's what's memorable. And sometimes you'll get those moments of the best drivers in the world, but you can't guarantee you're always going to be the best driver in the world. You can't. Michael Schumacher can't always show up to a race saying, I want to be the best driver in the world, I'm always going to win, but he can go out there and perform his best. And if his best that day is better than anybody else, then yes, he is the best driver that day. But you can't guarantee that every day. So yes, you should technically be one of the best drivers, but you can't guarantee that every single day. It'd be wonderful. Then you'd be like a guy like Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers who are not necessarily champions who are still the most popular drivers. I mean, like the Turk. I mean, he hasn't won a championship.
Well, absolutely.
But he's probably
he's good.
Mad
Mike never won a Formula Drift USA event.
And that doesn't mean they're bad drivers.
Right.
But they know how to present themselves. They know how to put on a show.
Yep.
You know, they always say hi to their fans. They're there, you know, they take the photos. And that means a lot. That's what brands who sponsor all these drivers want to see.
Right.
Because, like, let's be honest. What does winning really gives the brands?
I'll tell you this. Okay, so because winning is important
of
too.
Course,
it absolutely. Because the thing is everybody that owns a brand wants to say they have a championship winning brand. You know, Forsberg. People sponsor Forsberg because now he's a character, but also he can give the opportunity to say, "I have a championship winning wheel.
Yeah, but
I have a championship angle kit."
But let me put it like this. You know, every time one of our 2F drivers podiums. It's not like the next week we just sold 10 kids. No, not at all. Like, you know, we post like, hey, Forrest Wang made a podium. Like, fucking awesome. You know, like he's up there. Like we're super proud of him.
Yep.
It's not like next week we sold a lot of kits.
No, but the thing is,
you know,
it
does help. But at the same time, we're more happy with him about how his car is always looking.
Do you know what's a good example is Nate Hamilton with you guys.
Okay.
So Nate Hamilton actually has sold some kits through you guys, and he wasn't always a championship winner. He was never,
but he was
able to
proactively
doing things to engage with people, to trigger people to relate to your brand.
He would like if somebody's like, "Hey, your car looks great," he will immediately go like, "Oh yeah, you know, this is a 2F performance kit. I can get you on, blah blah blah." You know, and exactly. That's
so that would be an example. You know, you can have a championship winning guy in your kit, or you can have a guy that is just can connect to people and relate to people and make a connection other means. And you can't, once again, you can be the most winningest driver and you can lock yourself in the trailer and everybody's going to call you an asshole. You know, we've heard about that before many times. So it's all based on your experience. It's all based on your experience on what you have.
Kyle Polar says, Corey is like the Oscar Mayer winner of Japan to me.
I wish. So anyways, that was kind of like I never sold FD exclusively as, hey, I'm going to be an FT driver. I never sold that. I never would, because I used Formula Drift as a platform to create the content that I enjoy creating. And if my success comes in driving in Formula Drift, obviously I want to go out there and do very well. I want to win. I want to qualify, but I know what I can guarantee, and I can guarantee making fun content with people every single time.
And speaking of that, you went to Gridlife this weekend. And I think this was a major thing because we all know what's been going on with your build.
Right.
We know, like, you've been struggling, like you had the car ready, engine blows up in the dyno.
Right.
Now, we've heard it 1,000 times, so let's not go back to the to the dark times.
No, but I think that those dark times and the terrible times of trying to... Once again, this is all self-operated. This is own resources, working with my network of people. This is everything that I've done my entire life was literally leading up to Gridlife. It was everybody I've ever talked to in the past. It was all of that led up to what happened that particular round to going to Gridlife.
Which, by the way, you showed up to the Texas round on the 350Z, on the old 350Z rewrapped as an AM. I mean, that which again, you did show up to a race. Obviously, this was like a backup car.
No, well, let's. I do need to highlight on Maximum Driftcast, right? Let's highlight on Driftcast just for a minute.
All right.
The reason this started was because we have 3 guys, same idea, same mindset. For me, I knew a void was coming up in my career. I knew something was coming up and I had to prepare for it. And that's why I called Sam and Paco and I was like, hey, what do you guys think about doing something? The sport doesn't have this. It's brand new. We should probably do something together to fill that void between driver and audience, that void of lack of knowledge from crew guy to team member or crew guy to audience. We had the resources to do that, and not many people did. But I knew in my career, in my driving career, it was an opportunity to be still sustainable and still potentially be able to create and establish a career, because I wasn't going to give it up yet. I just spent my whole life to stay in the automotive industry, and so Driftcast has allowed me to stay relevant.
Yeah,
It's
evolving with what your career is taking you to.
So in the idea with that was to find means to survive. Really, you know what I mean? Even though it doesn't seem like a big deal, it was finding it's a survival. It was a way to stay relevant and do whatever it is that we had to do to keep the train going, because I didn't want it to stop. So Driftcast came around, and that was just some good ideas of just coming together and being able to give sorry, I was just reading the chat here.
Read me.
Yeah. So it was, once again, it was a means of survival and preparing for what was coming up. And I had to find a way. My car was down for 2 years and broken, and this is out of just team resources and my personal resources and friends and family and everything to keep it going. So what ended up happening after I'm just thinking, sorry. So what ended up happening was, after the engine blew up twice, I met Keith from Murica, and he helped out a lot. He was super helpful, and he was just interested in getting the project running. So he came on board, and he ended up leaving, going to North Carolina, and then I was kind of stuck here with nothing.
I know the feeling.
I need a minute to think.
Okay. So, I mean, it definitely, like, I think it does bring, how do you say? It does bring in something that a lot of people don't see. Things sometimes like happen on a way that you how to say, like, you're working for this. You're working it. You have You put time on this, and you put
investing.
Exactly.
Personal, mental, physical investment.
Exactly.
Into a
You
project.
invest yourself in these projects, and then you see the people that comes up and helps you, because they see all that work, they see all that investment of your hard work and all your, like, literally they trust in you. They trust their time, their
Though they're confident because they believe in you.
Yeah,
they
and-
know that if they invest themselves in this,
Exactly.
that there's a goal that can be attained.
and they see that, and they're like, you know what? I mean, I know I'm gonna help this guy, even if I know I'm not gonna make any money out of this, and I'm going to help this program. I'm gonna help this guy, and I know together we're gonna grow together. And look at it, dude. Like, I mean, I know. I mean, dude, I was like super excited when I saw your car like actually driving a Gridlife this weekend, and it's a very crazy thing. Like, yeah, Brian, let's show some of those photos. I mean,
So as you're showing them, I'm going to talk.
yeah, it was one of those moments. I was up in the booth announcing, and every single time I saw Corey's car come, I was like, all right, hey guys, wait, here comes Corey. Let's see if he's drifting it. And many of those laps were still like just testing, just kind of like going around, going slow, still testing, making sure the car is fine. You guys you went back to the pits. And Keith is just like hammering down, fixing stuff, changing a steering rack, fucking fixing leaks. It's just like little things. Because let's not forget, this is the first time you guys got the car back.
Yes.
After months of the car being at PSI.
Yeah, so I'll kind of pick up there, and you can keep showing pictures.
But
So like everything that I've done up to this point was creating relationships, meeting people. And you just kind of wonder, when are you going to get that help when you need it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's
And
one.
so I was lucky because I had Jason from PSI actually reached out to me over Facebook because he watches the show.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, dude, I see you kind of doing what you're doing with the car, and it's not working out over where you're at. So if you could find a way to get it up here to me, then I'll take care of it.
Yep. And it's not crazy. Like they trust their time, and that's what I was going to like. Weren't they like calling you like at 10, 11 p.m. like, hey, dude, we're working on this car. We're making sure the car is gonna be ready for you for Gridlife, and
Update photos and videos.
They got it done, dude. Like these people really they put it together. I mean, if it wasn't the guys from PSI.
It was everybody. It was everything that led up to that moment of the car starting the first time was really the moment of like, we're doing something. So I was just so lucky that Jason and the PSI guys.
Yep. Yeah, they saw the value. Here's the thing: they saw the value on what you were doing for them and what you're capable of doing.
Such a great looking car, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's Luis.
I talk about this all the time. It's like I've never had anything in my life that has gave me such stress, headaches, so much drama was around this car. I debuted at SEMA in 2014, 2015, and it's set because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it alone.
Yep. And you got it done, man. And again, it happened because a lot of these people trusted in you.
Well, so it's going back to, once again, Jason at PSI reached out to me, and then I see Go Fast AZ. So I contacted Go Fast AZ, which is a local support team. Their support team out here, and I said, "Hey, man,
look at this
I got
Motegi
a
wheels,
little
man.
bit. I got a little bit of money. What do I got to do to get this out there?" And they said, "Well, just I just cover fuel and we'll deliver it out there." So I was able to come up with fuel money. And once again, this is all off of just people I've met over the years that led up to getting the car up to PSI, where Jason and everybody can kind of start looking at it and working on it. And
even the guys from AC Go Fast, like, hey,
that's it. AZ,
I'll get
AZ
the car
Go
up
Fast
there.
was-
We got it done.
So everything that I've done in my life that gave me headaches, that was like door knocking and all this shit that got turned down, it was like, well, I need to go full fucking throttle now, because if I don't make this, and here's the thing is, a lot of people don't know this. I made obligations to all these sponsors, AEM, Motegi,
Of course.
that I'm gonna be here no matter what. I'm gonna fucking be there. So I took the gamble and the risk to say, do you know what? Give me some resources and give me some help, because I want to get there. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't go there, I'm just a fucking asshole.
But think about it. These obligations, they don't feel like obligations. You're happy to do it. You're just pumped and and absolutely happy for being
So-
able to represent these brands and talk.
Well,
great
everybody
things about this.
thinks like this shit's easy, and it's like, you know what? I may not be the best Formula Drift driver in the world, but it's like I feel like I just need to execute things that I can guarantee. And Gridlife was a huge test for everybody because it was setting a commitment and saying we're not stopping. And you know, here's the thing: when the car went to PSI, it wasn't nowhere near being done. I see Megan in here, and Megan has been so amazing and so supportive because literally she can probably tell you a story of from when the car first showed up to when it left.
Yeah.
But we've had issues from the engine getting shipped late, the engine getting lost.
Yeah,
Oh, the
yeah,
engine
that-
got lost
getting lost for
in-
14 days.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
without the engine, you can't build the manifold. You can't build the exhaust. You can't build the charge piping. We actually had to send a blown up engine out there so they can start mocking things up while the other engine is still just sitting. It's still sitting in transport somewhere. So it's like all these little fucking hurdles that came up that was like telling us that we couldn't fucking do it. And so anyways, coming up to New Jersey, and this is when I was pulling my fucking hair out going to Formula Drift New Jersey. I almost couldn't go. And I actually, missed around because I was terribly sick and going to Florida.
Yep.
But on top of stress and everything else that
Yeah.
I was dealing with. But so coming close to Florida, this is the week of. They finally got the engine in. They finally got the manifolds made. They still had to wire the engine. They still had to get the ECU. They still had to do like all these things. And I got a call from Jason. He's like, hey, dude, like I would say about 6 weeks before Gridlife, he's like, hey, I'm 70% sure we can get this thing done, 30% not. So we're looking good. But I can tell you how many times that number changed every single day where I'd get a call from Jason. Hey, we don't have this part, dude, and they're back ordered 2 weeks. We're at a 30. We're 30% going to make it 70% not now.
Yep.
And then 2 days would go by. Hey, dude, we found a fucking resolution. Guess what? We're back to 70-30. Okay, fuck, I can breathe again. Following next day, same thing. Nothing. No parts show up. We don't have anything. Can't next day air it. It's a build to order. Okay, well, let's figure out a resolution. Come up with a Frankenstein part, put it in the car. Fuck, we got it to work. Okay, we're back to... This was literally 3 weeks of this shit going on every single fucking day to get me to Gridlife. So, the car... I ordered a car hauler. I had to order that 3 weeks before the car left. So... I had to call a car hauler company. It's like, hey, I need you to pick up my car to transport to Michigan to Gingerman. Are you cool with that? And they're like, oh yeah, is the car running? I'm like, yeah, car's running. You gotta show up with the truck and trailer and it'll be ready for you. It wasn't fucking close to running. I had to gamble that we were going to get it done to load it on the fucking trailer to go to Gingerman. And so what ended up happening was coming up to fucking Formula Drift New Jersey. Jason, the owner of PSI, was supposed to tune the car, right? This was Wednesday. Jason goes, dude, I fly out Wednesday fucking night. I'm not going to have time to tune the car. The car's going to have no tune on it. He's like, but I have an idea. He's like, what I'll do is I'll fly out. I'll remote tune it. I'll get Mark Panic, who's he owns Panic Wiring. He's like one of the best wiring dudes out here. He's like, I'll have Mark go to my shop. He'll run the dyno. I'll remote tune it from the track at New Jersey. And so I was like, if you can do that, let's fucking do it.
And this is after like Chelsea DeNova showed up with a ribbon cable out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is
Like
I was making 911 posts on Facebook, and I usually try not to make 911 posts on Facebook.
Yeah.
But literally a ribbon cable that runs my RC switch panel was broken. I couldn't start the fucking car. They could not start the car to tune it because the ribbon cable was broken.
Yeah.
And so I made a post, and DeNova lives an hour away from PSI. DeNova says, I have one out of my old car. I'll deliver it to PSI.
Wow.
He drove a
Wow.
fucking hour
What
to
a
drop
guy.
the ribbon band. Yeah.
What a guy.
So
That's
Chelsea
awesome.
Chelsea came through and got the car started. Other than that, they would have to build a whole new relay system or starting system to fucking start the car, which would have been 3 days. That's after the car has to leave that Friday. So Chelsea ended up delivering the ribbon for the ARC switch panel, and then tuning day comes around, and they get the car on the dyno. And Jason's at the track with a hotspot on his phone, logging into the link ECU that we just put in the car, tuning the car from JTP's pits, right?
Wow.
So they start tuning the car. Jason loses fucking signal at the track, and they still have practice to do. He's like, fuck, man, I'm not going to be able to tune it right now. I won't be able to tune until I get back to the hotel where I can get on some solid signal. So anyways, day goes by, and it's supposed to ship the next morning. You know what I mean? Like, the car's supposed to ship.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Get on the dyno. A fucking freeze plug pops out of the block.
Yeah.
Piss is cooling everywhere. We have to resize the freeze plug.
Yep.
Throwout bearing didn't work. We have to fucking remake the throwout bearing 6 hours before we goddamn left. Before it even gets on the dyno.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the type of team effort and energy and to get this thing done. So you guys look at it, it's like it's just a car, but it's like so much went into this thing to get it going. Dude. So finally, long story short,
well, I mean,
Jason,
before you go there, I mean, people takes all these builds for granted.
yeah,
People's very quick to judge. Oh, you know, like this and that. Like, I mean, for example, and I'm a little rough example. Last year, Farouk.
right.
You know, he barely showed up Long Beach with a car that looked super half-assed, and everybody's like, Farouk, this and that. You don't know what he went through.
Dude.
He went through freaking hell and back to get that car in there. And you know what? Sometimes you don't get it. And this year is finally there, you know, like
Right.
you went through it. The car is done.
So yeah, so I want to finish that story because
so
anyways, Jason gets back to the hotel. He tunes the car, and it made great power. It just made just over 700 horsepower. He's confident in it, and he's like, do you know what? It's not done. It's not done yet, but it's good enough to ship there, and it will drive off the fucking trailer. I'm like, do you know what? That's all we need. Is if it can drive on the trailer and off the trailer, that's all we need. So. The car ends up shipping out the next fucking morning, and I fly to Gridlife, and the car was supposed to be there on Thursday at noon. And so the plan was, do you know what? I'm going to spend from Thursday from noon until midnight to just finish up the car. I got to go through the belts. I got to get the safety things up. I got to make sure the car's running. I got to put the exhaust on the car. I got everything's like we had a running car. We had a running, but that doesn't mean everything else was 100%. Jason said he would deliver me a running driving car, and that's exactly what he did. He gave me a running driving car. So Keith, I've been lucky. Keith Johnson from American Motorsports. He drove 16 hours with the fucking truck and trailer to Michigan.
And a pregnant
and
girl.
a pregnant wife. Right? A pregnant girlfriend.
Yeah.
And met me out there with his fucking toolbox. He says, we'll get it running again, dude. Like, we'll do this. So me and Keith the car arrived midnight on Thursday. So we actually had to work on the car from Friday morning. We missed the first 3 sessions on Friday because we still needed to button up the car to make it past tech to be able to drive. But once again, it was having everybody there to be able to contribute to make this thing run. So
At least, you guys went for a lap or two on the Friday, right?
I did, because
Yeah.
the brakes weren't even bedded in. There was 0 miles on the motor other than the dyno. I didn't know if it was even going to hold fluids and coolant. I didn't even know. I'd never even seen. The car's been gone to me for 3 months. You know what I mean? Like, I had no idea. We actually threw a dash in the car, so I had data at the track. Like, we had no data. I ended up picking up an AM dash, threw it in the car just so I can see what the criticals of the engine,
The
as far
car
as
is doing,
RPM, oil, water temp, and this was all shit done that was at the track that needed to. So the first couple laps, I literally just drove around. I just literally drove 40 miles an hour and just drove my car for the very first time, 40 miles an hour, and I was the happiest motherfucker
I think
this world has ever seen.
The best thing was watching you driving it on Snapchat around the
I've never
pits.
driven a 2J
Yeah.
before. People don't even know that.
No, but this is before at the track. Like, this is what, like, on Snapchat, you were just like driving around the pits, just like literally, like they were like like Keith was recording from his truck or from his little smart car, and it's like Corey's car is driving on its own power, and you can tell like you were kind of like trying to like rev it up, just kind of like whoa, like just 2,000 RPMs, just make sure everything is fine, like it was a great feeling, and the best part is like we are together, like Forsberg, Jared, like all the guys, we're together, and I was like, guys, look at this, Corey's car is driving on its own power, and everybody's like, that's cool. Like, it's like, because at some point, obviously, and in this, okay, nobody was trying to wish you like anything bad. Like, nobody's like saying like, I hope Corey's car is not gonna drive. But obviously, like, one engine blows up, comes up with like a new engine, shotgun build, and all that. Everybody's obviously like,
there was doubt.
Yeah,
I didn't.
and that's why
I had no problem with that.
Yeah, that's why the whole bet, like, oh, let's bet Corey's car is not gonna run. But you know what? This bet wasn't out of hatred or anything.
No,
like that.
absolutely
It
not.
was more of like I hope I lose this bet. I want to see Corey's drive. And
well, I'll tell you this. Jason from PSI, part of his reason to do this was like, he's like, let's fucking shut up the doubters. Let's like, literally, he tells me that. He's like, did we shut him up? Did you went out there and drove, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, he saw what I was dealing with people, because I would post a picture every now and then. It's just, and I get it. I got sick of posting a car that didn't run. I got sick of posting a car that didn't drive, and I would see this every fucking day. And then people would see, all these comments of like, Trailer Queen, Car Show God, SEMA fucking build, and it's cool because I thrive off of that. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind people saying that. I'm a troll too. We're all trolls in some degree. But it was like, at some point, people see that and it's like, all right, this just has to fucking end. That's what I felt really got Jason. He's like, let's prove people wrong. We can fucking do this.
Like,
and so
I can't wait for PSI to take my drift van.
Yeah, dude, it's the best fucking feeling in the world. So, anyways, Keith drives 16 hours, toolbox, truck, trailer, drives out there, and my first lap driving a 2J. He's like, all right, man, everything is there. Go do a lap. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm ready to throw up in my fucking driving suit because I just didn't know how to handle it. And it's like I'm afraid to get over 4,000 RPMs. I didn't want to blow up in my face. I didn't want it to get hot. I'm just like, okay, here we go. Yeah. But so first lap at Gridlife, I come into the corner and I'm like, e-brake, a little bit of gas. I straighten. I'm like, okay, get sideways. Okay, we're not gonna fucking crash and burn and die. So next corner, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fucking clutch kick it and just slide it just a little bit. So I clutch kick it and it's like a pretty fucking lame clutch. Goes like, blah, and I'm like, and I'm like, fuck it, the fuel just shut off. And I go back to the pits and I go, Keith, I'm like, the fuel just shut off. And he's like, well, did you check the dash? What did the dash look like? And I'm like, the dash is fine. He's like, well, then what do you mean the fucking fuel cut out? I'm like, it just fucking stopped. It didn't make any power.
Probably didn't have enough fuel.
No, I didn't even get in the fucking boost.
See, it was lag.
Yeah, so I thought it was broken because I didn't get in boost. He's like, no. He's like, you need to get on the gas. And so I was like, all right, dude, whatever you say. So next time around, I go in there and I finally clutch kick it, and I'm like, holy ball sack. Like, I've never experienced anything like that before in my entire life. It was one of the most incredible feelings that I've ever felt. From the car, runs on like 27 pounds of boost. I've never got hit by 27 pounds of boost before. And so as soon as I clutch kicked, it was just whap. And I was like, holy balls. Okay, so it wasn't the fuel system coming. I was driving it like an asshole. I wasn't kidding. I was still under 3,000 RPMs.
Barely
around.
learning the car,
But after that, we pulled into the pits, and it's like, okay, brakes are working. We're not pissing fuel anywhere. It's staying cold. We did a couple laps.
There's a slight leak on the power steering.
Yeah, and then it's like we get a slight leak on the power steering, which led to, at the track that next day, power steering pump, power steering rack,
but I saw you walking into your pits with a brand new steering rack on the box.
So let's go back to camaraderie and how amazing this drift community is. Dude, listen to this, Brian. Yeah. Jeff Stonebeck gave me a brand new S14 steering rack. The NV Auto guys had a brand new 2J steering pump in their car. Take it. Gave me a brand new steering pump. They gave me a brand new power steering cooler. It's like, we will do, as a community, they said, we saw what you did to get here. We'll give you whatever you fucking need to get on track.
As long
as
these are
all spares that people were seeing us break. They fucking gave us. They just said, do you know what? This one's on the house. You need this. Let's get you driving. So it's like, where do you experience that at? You know what I mean? Where do you experience that at? And then,
what was the last time you saw Joey Logano lending a part to Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And then you have Forsberg and Jared and Turk coming over. Hey, how's everything looking? What do you need? What do you need? Vaughn coming over. Hey, boss, what's going on? How's everything look? You know what I mean? So
I was zip tying stuff on the engine.
I'll tell you this. I came back at one point and Mike Kojima's laying under the car doing the suspension.
That's right. What? So, okay, and I mean, a big shout out. Mike Kojima,
your car's been blessed.
Dude, Mike Kojima was working under the car,
I'm telling you, Brian,
over,
Kojima did an alignment on my car. He gave me. This is what he said to me, and this is one of the funniest things I ever said. He's like, "How do you like this chassis?" I'm like, "Mike, I did 3 laps," and he's like, "All right, so this is what I'm going to do for you." He's like, "I'm going to give you the same setup I gave Dye on his S chassis when he didn't run sway bars. So give me 10 minutes. I'm going to tune you in just like I did Dye with no sway." So he sat there literally adjusting my KW coilovers from top to bottom as if he was tuning Dye's car running with no sway bars.
And you can tell that he was so happy.
And he spent 30 minutes there. Keep in mind, the Falcon rig's right behind him with Dye, Odie, JTP.
All the heavy hitters.
And he came over and gave me about an hour of his time just setting up the car, suspension-wise.
Probably more than
priceless.
that.
He was probably more than that.
It looked like he was like your crew chief at some point because he was just hanging out at your pits.
Dude,
and it was so cool.
Every time I came in, Kojima ran over to me. How did it feel? What was lateral like?
Yeah.
How was the forward? Do you want to add more? Do you want to? He was literally wanting to improve what I was doing, and I go, Mike. I go, dude. I don't know how much better we're gonna get. I'm still fucking. I get 90% of the problems you see out there's probably me. It's not the car. The car is fucking awesome. Whatever you did, it's a rocket ship. So let's. He's like, all right, well, just call me when you need anything. But it's like, dude, where do you get
nice.
Von Turek, Stonebeck, even all the grassroots dudes that are pit next to me? Dude, we ran into a point where we needed Steve Angerman. Steve Angerman came over. We needed fucking turbo feed lines. Steve Angerman had 10 sets. He's like, what do you need? I'll give. It's just that. This whole build wasn't me. Everybody says, oh, it's your. I don't take any credit for it. I take none. I don't want to take anything for it. It wasn't me that built this thing. It was everybody that's been involved from day one until now.
This is a people's build.
Yep. No, literally.
Yeah.
Like that's the point. I couldn't do this alone.
Well, I mean, and you did a lot, obviously, because you put all this together.
It was just everything that led up to that point. Everything that I did that led up to that point
And
was my effort because there was a lot of it that I couldn't do. So
one of the funny things is that Iron Dookie tagged us in this photo.
yeah, even
of,
like George K. Once again, I didn't have a tuning cable. I see George K comment in here. George K was another dude that run over with a Link tuning cable. Nobody else had a fucking Link tuning cable, but George did. It's like, where do you find this stuff? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, like Iron Dookie tagged us on this photo. This is, I don't know if the camera can focus, but this is
some
Corey.
reason, yeah.
This is our roofless garage back in the day. This is when we got your car.
That's
Yep.
right.
We did like a live stream of us like literally like taking apart the car, and it's nice, dude. Like, I mean, it even had like leather seats.
Yeah.
Like it.
But that was 4 years ago. 3
For-
years. You know what I mean?
It's been a long build, you know. Like it's been quite some time, but it was definitely pretty awesome seeing it this weekend.
I'll tell
at
you what,
Gridlife.
man. Like, I've learned so much in the past 3 months. I learned so much what it takes to operate on your own. I know what it takes to get a good team. I know what support feels like. It's something that I couldn't explain. And like, I've done a lot of fun stuff in my life, and obviously I worked with all these celebrities and rock stars, and I traveled the world doing drifting. But there hasn't been anything that's been better than what I experienced.
This was
It's
a
a
pretty
life
cool
journey, man.
It's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, this is a good chapter in your life.
Yeah.
But
to experience.
Hey,
yeah, so everybody's like, so what's the emotion? Like, dude,
Come here,
I literally sat there and I moped like a baby that I'm doing right now because there's just an overwhelm. It was just an overwhelming amount of emotions that you've been wanting for 4 years or 3 years that I couldn't explain it, man. It was definitely one of the happiest moments I've ever had because it's just this demon baby of a car that decides to kill you
Demon baby.
for you know what I mean, that wants to just torture you and give you headaches and let people down and give you gives people opportunity to lose faith in you, and I experienced all that.
There's a saying about when you're building something and you're working on something for so long that you like a bamboo. When a bamboo gets planted, it takes years for it to actually break ground. And what happened the day you started driving that car is that your bamboo actually broke ground, and it will grow to like 30 feet in weeks. So this is now your growing point. Now you're going to be accelerating and putting on the show. The car is running, so you're going to run with the car now.
It was the response was incredible, and I think that was kind of like you said, that was the fuel on the fire and the bamboo breaking the soil. But now it just right now, I'll tell you this is. As soon as that car drove and I had that moment, I felt complete. I felt like I can do everything now. I can finally provide for the sponsors I've been promising for 4 years. I can finally provide content for my fans that have been waiting for 4 years. I can finally drive for myself that I've been wanting on my own car for 4 years. And it's like now I feel like I can do all this.
You've been building everything. All these blocks have been coming together. The podcast, all the relationships you've been forming. That's all that the soil, the foundation to help you grow.
And that's the thing is like, I don't come from money. I don't come from like
Corey,
crazy
come on.
resources of finance.
Everybody knows you're rich as fuck.
Oh, dude, just
you're
live
what,
in
like
it.
your dad, Mr. Comcast himself.
Yeah,
and-
you know, it just and so it's just like for me, it just reassures that if you want to just go fucking get it. You know what I mean? Like I've always like when people would always say that, it'd be like, he's full of shit. You can't get whatever you want. But like even if something as little as this, and this is not little to me, but it's just something like this that if you really can and you have the right people, you can really get whatever you want. And this was proof to me that people weren't bullshitting when they were saying, yeah, man, it's just, you look at all these celebrities that talk about it, and you look at all these other guys, it's like, I became an NFL player, or the best comedian, or the best football player, or whatever it is, because I wanted it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it probably fell into your lap, but it's like, you must really want it.
Yeah.
But if you want it, you will get it. And this was just something that we had with this thing that
It's
we
like
needed it.
At the end of the movie Wanted, this is one of my favorite movies. What's his name? What's the actor?
Oh man, I should know this.
It's the same as Dr.
Professor
Xavier.
X, yeah.
Yeah. And Professor Xavier, anyways, he at the end of the movie, literally he closes with the line, like, what have you done lately? Like,
Right.
What have you done? Like,
Right.
it literally is just like, you have a whole life to do stuff. What have you done with your time? What have you done with your life? Go out and do something.
Well, so one thing that this is another driving force behind me is, money's awesome. Obviously, the more money you have, the more convenient and cool things you can get. But for me, what competitions we have is we have this thing called life points.
James McAvoy.
And life points to us is an
Thank you.
unexisting currency that the more cool stuff you do, the more life points you have. The more life points you have, the more winner you are. So life points can be created any which way. Life points can be created from going skydiving. Life points can be going doing anything that you wanted to do. So life points is something that we use as a non-existence currency to keep us going. You know what I mean?
I know what
Yeah.
you're saying there, and those life points can be equally be rewarded from the challenges that you're facing, how you handle them.
Yep.
Because then you grow and you develop yourself from those challenges and how you've been able to find a resolution. You found a lot of positive resolution from the people you've networked with.
Right, and but that's the thing is, obviously money is amazing, and I would love to have all of it.
Oh, I
but
love money.
You can't take it to the grave. What you can take is stories, history, and friends. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like how I've always lived, and it's weird being on the podcast talking like this because I never ever thought I'd be opening up like as much as I do. But I guess people need to know these things because it goes back to what Sam posted on the other day. It's like you can have this perception of everything is super fun and easy, and we live a good life. We go to every FD round and we get taken care of.
Yeah.
But there's so many troubles that you guys don't see.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and
Everything. I mean, and I don't want to get too, I would say too much in feeling grounds, but like life is fragile.
Yep.
Life is short. Like I've been recently, like I'm thinking like, dude, I'm 37 already, and I remember I did so much shit back in the day, and I kind of like feel like I'm stalling,
Right.
and then I'm finally kind of like feeling like I'm getting somewhere again, and it definitely feels, it gives you a reason, it gives you like motivation, and
Right.
then seeing your friends also like going through it and being successful, it fuels you as well, so and like this week. Okay, so real quick, going to Gridlife this weekend was definitely it was like loaded with emotions. It was Sam's birthday.
Right.
Your car rode for the first time.
Right.
We had great times. Like it was a lot of things happened. Obviously, I mean, the unfortunate passing of Anthony Bourdain, which my sister, she's very good friends with Bourdain's publicist, and Sam's a big fan of him. And there's I don't know. There's a lot of like thinking. There's a lot of
Right.
of things going on, and some private stuff happens, and don't want to say much about it, but it was definitely a weekend full of emotions. And at the end of the day, you know what? Everything's good.
Right.
Everything
Doesn't matter.
Everything's fucking awesome.
And it's also how you perceive things.
Yeah.
There's people out there that can you can give them a cold cheeseburger and they can be like, oh, this cheeseburger's cold. But then you have the other guy that looks at us like
the best cheeseburger.
there's well, it's this.
It's how you see it.
Well, you can give somebody a cold cheeseburger and they'll be like, oh, this fucking cheeseburger cold. Or you have the other mindset of, I'm glad to be eating a cheeseburger. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's you can be getting whatever you want. It's just how you interpret it to keep that train going. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what it is. So That's what the boss was to me. That's what this car was to me.
And that's gonna be the name of the episode. Cold cheeseburger.
I'd still eat it. I don't care. But yeah, so can't say thank you enough to everybody that's been a part of this, and Jason and Megan and Ron and Keith and every like Link. ECU came on board. They saw the urgency.
Yeah.
They ended up helping out ECU. You have Radium Engineering. You have Under Pressure. All these guys were once again just people that wanted to support and get this going because they were tired of seeing it too, and so was I.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's not just an I thing. I would never ever say I. It's us. It's us always. But now we have, as a team and as a community, we have an opportunity to do something, and hopefully I'll be able to give you guys everything I can with this thing, and keep it going, keep it running, and come drive everywhere and party and give rides. And that's my goal now, is I want to keep making people smile. And I'll tell you the other thing too that I learned this last round is I still have a lot to learn. You know what I mean? Like driving this car made me realize how much more I have to learn. And so people were asking if I was going to do FDC St. Louis. I don't know if I'm going to do St. Louis.
What do you know?
Because I still feel I need more to learn.
Well, you better be there, motherfucker.
Well, I'll be there with Driftcast, but it's just like, once again, it's just like I had a moment where I need to learn. You know what I mean? It's like I would hate to go out there and not be as educated as I should be, and that's learning the car, learning the equipment. I want to be safe. I want to go out there and I want to be prepared. You know what I mean? And that's what I learned, is how unprepared I was.
Yeah,
and because it's still learning, I'm overwhelmed so much right now with just everything that has changed and how this thing drives, and that I just want to be ready. And, talking with Jason and Keith and all these guys, everybody that's contributed is not in a hurry right now. They're like, dude, phase one with this thing is done.
I'm in a hurry, buddy. But I want to see you podium.
But
like,
this is not a
already.
car you YOLO in. This is something you're gonna make it last. You're gonna make this car work.
And so, for me, what would be a dream to me, and that's what I want to try to create, is I want to go to one of these rounds, and I want to win. I want to perform well. I want to prove to people that everything that we invested would create the content, but I want to perform. And I don't want to enter the arena unless I'm ready to fight. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. As I still feel there's so much to learn, and I still have so much to grow, and I've been growing so much with everybody around me, and but I'm not ready to fight yet.
Yeah. Well, I can drive. I mean, just give me your suit.
We need to. What happens now? Now that the car's done, we need to do a montage.
Yeah,
you're gonna need a montage.
So the plan is I'm gonna do Gridlife. I'm gonna do Gridlife Atlanta, and I'm gonna do a bunch of other party events.
You need to do at least Texas and Irwindale.
Yeah, that's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for Texas and Irwindale, and if something happens where I can be
shake up the points, you have to get at least a top 17.
Yeah, I'll be at Atlanta. I'd be at Atlanta Gridlife, and that's.
And with that said, dude, how fucking awesome was Gridlife?
It was the most amazing thing I've ever.
Those events, dude. Like, seriously.
Like, I'm still so drained. Like, you guys, I apologize. I've been a sissy this whole episode. I tried
you
starting
haven't.
it super good, and I've done a lot of fun things, but I am so mentally exhausted.
Oh, I mean, if you can't see me, I'm lounging, dude. I'm still tired, dude. You've been this too. Like, we've been traveling every single weekend for like the past 5 weeks. It's been exhausting, but you know what? It's been freaking awesome. And I think
I would not trade it for anything.
Oh, no, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I would say for this break that we have, I think we have 6 weeks of break. That was the best way to end the first 4 weeks of work. Gridlife was amazing. It's a great time as usual. This was a sold out event.
Yeah.
Like, insane. I can't wait for Atlanta. I know that's gonna be a sold out event too. I don't even know who's gonna be the talent. Waka Flocka killed it. Everybody who made it, dude. Lucky Chops.
Yep.
Like, I remember, I watched those guys online. I saw him live. Right. It's amazing. I saw like insane drift trains with Tanner Faust, Chris Forsberg, Ryan Turk, Von Gidding, Ryan Littoral, like just stacked all together, going like crazy. You saw all the Falcon boys killing it. You saw Corey Hosford driving for the fucking first time in the boss, and like actual like it delaminated an entire tire. Like you drift hard enough to just destroy the tire, blow up a flare. Like I mean, that was a little bit more than just testing. That was definitely fun having drifting. Like you did it. At the end of the day, the very last thing ever on the track was us on the golf cart looking for your fender flare. Remember?
Yeah,
dude. The partying was crazy. The people was crazy.
yeah. I'm gonna.
Everything was awesome.
There's just.
Everything was great.
There's just so much, you know what I mean? And it's
Everything was great.
Everything's great.
Yeah.
Everything was look, it's on your screen.
It's on my screen. There you go. Everything was freaking awesome. Everything was perfect, and everything happened the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. No, it's everybody that has contributed, and obviously my girlfriend Kaylee and everybody else. Just everybody had a role. Everybody had a part. And I'm not going to miss a Gridlife from here on out. I need to train. I need to fight. I need to learn. I need dexterity and strength again. You know what I mean? I need to go back to my roots.
We need to make that montage.
But yeah, so that's my story, guys. That's a small part of my story. I'm sorry to drag you guys through that all, but
Corey,
I'm just so overwhelmed. I'm so
this is
stoked.
great.
Thank you, guys.
Corey,
I'm
you
just
were
fucking blown away.
You were a great a great guest.
Oh, thanks, Paco.
For the show. What do you think, Brian?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. It was great stories. It was definitely like I visualizing everything. It was really good.
Are you inspired, Brian?
I'm very inspired. I definitely needed to hear this.
Are you gonna finish your Suburban this weekend?
finish my BMW hopefully someday soon.
Okay, because Brian needs to put his Suburban together so he can tow his BMW and put it together.
Yeah.
And you need to make it to Gridlife, Brian, because you fucking would love that shit.
Yeah, I'd like to make it to one of the Gridlifes one of these days.
Oh hell yeah!
that'd be
You
cool.
you will. Just follow the Corey Hosford 5-step.
At
I'm on that.
hotdoglegs.com.
I'm on that
Yeah.
step program.
I'm really bummed that Sam couldn't be here for this last
Hold on.
moments.
Before we go this,
Okay.
as I was working on the car with the guys, you guys were announcing. I didn't realize.
we weren't announcing. We
Dude,
were talking shit.
I heard
we
Sam.
talk so much
The
shit about
announcing
you.
for the drifting at Gridlife is something I never heard. It's a different Jared. It's Sam and Paco obviously influencing Jared to the point where I heard them talking about eating Tide Pods and shotgunning beers and
It's not announcing. It is literally we're there like. I mean, people are watching.
it's literally
They're
friends.
seeing what's going on. We're just like pretty much just spicing it up.
It's literally friends in the announcer stand.
Yeah.
Just rambling, and Pat Gooden was up there talking shit at one point.
Pat Gooding joined us. He was like our guest announcer. He every single announcing every single drift session. He was already there. I was like, oh, Pat is here. All right, well, let's give him a
Let's
microphone.
Yeah,
Let's give the kid the microphone to see what he can do.
It's really what drifting's all about. And
It was fun, dude. Like seriously, like Chris Stewart. Thanks, man. You are the man. Like you are doing something freaking awesome, and thanks for having us.
everybody. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. And thanks Brian for like
big balls.
dude, like big balls.
Big
no,
balls on the
thank
ones
you
and
guys.
twosies.
Yeah, you guys brought me in this. I've been
thank-
enjoying it ever since.
Thanks Corey for driving the bus for the first
Paco,
time.
thanks
It was
for
freaking
inviting me
awesome.
and motivating me to go. I've been missing Gridlights for 3 years.
That was that dude.
Chris
this-
Stewart goes, I saw Chris for the first time, like, as I was leaving. I said bye to him. That's the first time I saw him when I was leaving to the airport. I was like, hey, Chris, bye. And he's like, I've been waiting for you to come here for 3 years, and all I get's a bye from you. I was like, dude. Obviously you're doing your thing.
Corey, you're a dickhead. But great event. Good job.
But
And dude, we've been going for like 2.5 hours.
anyways, guys.
I think it's time to set. Okay, Corey. So since you are the guest today,
Right.
you're gonna say all the thanks to everybody.
Yep.
And send us to Oblivion.
Cool.
So, you ready, Brian, for this? All right.
I'm ready.
This is all yours.
All right,
Corey.
so this is my thanks. Obviously, I want to thank everybody that's been a part of this project from day one until now. And this is, starting 4 years ago. All of you guys had a part in this, which is huge to me. It may be small to others, but it was something very special, and it was funny. It was like it was meant to be, because the longer it took, the more people felt they're involved. I had some people walk up to me at the show saying, "Man, I wish you never finished this car because I enjoyed watching everything that happened with it." And that is just so interesting to me that there was people that engaged to not want it to be completed. But it's everybody, even somebody like that. Obviously, Link, Radium, Excessive, Turbo by Garrett, Portland Speed Industries, Mark Panic, Ron, Megan, Kaylee, Jason, Keith, Paco, Sam, Jared, the Drift Community, Maximum Driftcast, AM Intakes, Motegi Wheels, Nexon Tire, Patreon, Paco's whispering Patreon.
I think
Usually whisper
everybody
that
heard
to
it.
me as I go to sleep. You guys are so fucking awesome, and you guys are so special. You have a place in all of us, and we've been doing this for over 100 episodes, and we do it because of you guys, and we love this community so much. But you guys are very powerful as a group. Thank you.